Guys, intro time.
Wait, which intro?
The wisdom check.
Oh, good.
Wait, no. I thought we were keeping the old intro. What's wrong with the old one? People like that one.
It was too long.
Yeah.
Too many fucking gifs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But can we keep the part where I yell more?
No.
But it's the intro to end all intros.
I got like what? 2 lines last time?
Do you want more lines, Tim?
Well, no, not really.
In a world without answers.
Yeah.
Wait, you want to start with that?
Here we go. Exactly like last time.
Wait, okay, so we're doing it the exact same way? Let's start with the Smoky Bar.
No. It's a new season. We have to have a new intro.
More.
Not sure why we thought this would go any differently.
Oh, well. Welcome, everyone, to the Wisdom Check, where Jeff and Dustin welcome a guest every week to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Welcome.
This is ridiculous. I'm starting the stream now.
Wait, where's my die at? Well, we can't start until I botch, and it's not an intro unless I'm botching.
You're on.
So I'm pretty sure Clint just said we're on. And what are we on for again, Dustin? Oh, right, the Wisdom Check. Holy crap. We've been doing this a while.
Do we do this show still? Is it still a show?
I think we still do the show. At least one more time, right?
All right, yeah, sure. I got one more in me.
Oh, okay, great, perfect. So yeah, that's us. We are Dustin and Jeff, and we have been the Wisdom Check for quite a while. And
90 plus episodes, Jeff. 90
that's
plus.
Right. I just put up 97 on YouTube this afternoon, so this will be 98 for us. And,
We're cutting this one into 3 so we can have 100.
You know, we probably should. just somewhere in the middle of here, we'll just say, thanks for coming.
It's a 3-hour episode tonight. We're going to cut it to 3 1-hour chunks before we're done.
Nice. So yeah, we thought we would kind of dig through and talk a little bit about kind of like what the show's been for us. And hi, W Snacks. Good to see you.
Hey, thanks.
And just say thank you essentially for being along for the ride. Hopefully you guys enjoyed a lot of what we've been up to here and the nonsense we've spewed over the 97 episodes thus far. So I guess let's kind of dig in a little bit. Like we've had some pretty cool moments on this show.
I think so.
Any that jump out at you in particular, Dustin?
Oh man, see, some of the cooler moments for me. I think top in the list was probably the time we had Satine Phoenix on the show.
Yeah, that was cool. A good one. That was a really good episode.
Especially enjoyed the Larry Elmore episode, even though I wasn't on it. I was watching that one from Florida. I was on vacation at Disney World, and I would sit there at the table with my kids running around watching Levi basically get to fulfill like a damn near childhood dream of his. Like that was just really cool. Like I was glad, even if I had been home, I would have let him be on that episode. Like those are probably the top 2 episodes for me as far as like just cool things that happened on the Wisdom Check itself. So
yeah, we had. I mean, honestly, it kind of blows my mind that we had some of the guests that we've had. And hey, Grouch Couch, welcome.
Hey, Turk.
Glad to have you. I think just kind of looking back, just kind of like I don't know. Obviously, we have a few connections here and there, but like it still seems surreal that we talked to the Gygaxes.
Yeah.
Like,
2 of them, not just one. 2 different Gygaxes.
Like,
yeah.
How do you end up talking to 2 Gygaxes? And yes, Grouch Couch, it has been, in fact, a hell of a year. Ups and downs all over the place, but it's a great year. I've been having a great time with all of our shows and everything. Yeah, that's right, Grouch Couch. Yeah, both Luke and Alex came onto the show. We were talking about earlier that we talked to Larry Elmore. That was fucking amazing. Okay, if you've never talked to a Southern gentleman that is a little tipsy and smoking a cigar for 2+ hours, you are missing out. Like that is the way to do it. That was cool.
Those were definitely some really, really cool episodes. One of the things that, and I was thinking about how this got started, like there were things that kind of became running jokes on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And one was always that we were always going on tour. Like somehow every time we have guests or something. And like, I think it started when another time I was on vacation, I was doing it from a hotel lobby and the power cord I needed the power cord to keep myself plugged in, and so I had to like take everyone through the hotel with me up to my room to try to get the power cord. I think that was like the first tour, and then like Larry Elmore took us around his house.
Yeah, the cell
Like
phone.
every time we were in, like I think even Satine got up and like walked around her place with like to show us stuff. We had Tony from Audio Dungeon took us on an entire tour of the Audio Dungeon, which was really cool. Like it became one of those things that was like every night it was like, oh, here we go, we're on a tour again. Like, and that was something I don't think when we started the show I would have expected to happen that much.
No,
to get
I
kind of those tours. Like,
I think that was kind of a unique thing. I'm trying to remember. Was Stefan the first one? Was Stefan Picorni with his bar episode? No,
that was way later, but that was maybe one of the most interesting episodes we had.
Yeah, that was a wild ride.
It was almost a non-episode because see, and again, Jeff, that one never made it to YouTube.
That's true.
So we're actually episode 98. So we only have to cut this
98's
one
tonight. 99.
Well, we only have to cut this one into 2 to make it 100. So
I honestly can't believe we made it to that high of a number. But yeah, I mean, we've had some pretty cool guests, like the Satine episode you're talking about. I know there was like a lot of like back and forth ahead of time trying to negotiate, to get her on and talking to people, and it felt like this like insurmountable thing. Like who are we talking to here? We're talking to somebody who is on like the official channels and stuff, who's hanging out with Matt Mercer and the like all the time. And I'm like, there's no way she's gonna come on the show. Next thing I know, she's on, and like we're hanging out, having a great time. It was and that was a really interesting conversation too. It wasn't just like a celebrity showed up and we were talking to him, but it was like a really in-depth, really interesting conversation about just everything under the sun. But like every once in a while these episodes got pretty deep, and that was one of the things I really enjoyed about the show. Beyond just kind of touching on some like surface layer ideas. Obviously I probably dug in a little bit more than maybe was necessary, but that's the stuff that I find is really exciting about gaming as a hobby. Like the reflection, the being able to figure out what makes it, motivating to you as an individual, like what brings you along for the ride beyond just hang out and throw dice with your friends. And I found it really cool just to find out what people were into. Like, did you learn anything about what you were into over the time? Because like I felt like I did a little bit.
What I was into as far as a gamer, I don't know. I'm pretty self-aware, and I think that for me, what was more interesting was finding out exactly why a lot of other people are in it. Like I don't feel like what I'm in it for changed much. I felt like I was doing a lot more of the like almost like advising, like, hey, here's things you can do in your game, like that sort of stuff. But I feel like me as a player, I don't feel like I changed too much on my end. I think I got to hear a lot of cool stories and hear a lot of different perspectives about why other people are in the hobby. So maybe in a way, just hearing their stories has helped me maybe understand other gamers better.
Right.
Maybe not so much myself, and maybe as somebody who's GMing more than I used to and running games more than I used to, like that's probably made me a better DM over the course of being on the show and hearing and talking about those kinds of topics with different kinds of people in the industry. So I think I probably have grown more as a GM running a game and being more knowledgeable of other players than I have as a player myself.
Yeah, I think that's been invaluable. Like, we've been playing with the same group of guys, for those of you who may not know, for like 20 to 25 years or so. And, you get kind of used to your group and like what works, what doesn't work, and like what people are interested in and that kind of stuff. And then you run into other people outside your group, and all of a sudden it's an entirely different experience. And like, there was a lot of overlap, but I feel like there were quite a few people, especially in the latter episodes, we were running into that were more old school mentality. Some people obviously throughout the middle were more of like the minimal rule set kind of peoples. When we were first starting to talk, we were talking more of the people that were into like the heavy narrative, character role-playing kind of side of things. And it's really interesting just to see like that entire breadth of gaming over the episodes. And it's a lot of things that like we don't necessarily do a lot of.
Well, and I know for me, the show and the context that I made, well, really just streamers, and not so much just this show, but as streamers, like, my job here at TT2KB is I run a lot of the social media. I'm not the only person who's on them, but I'm the primary person who's on a lot of them and a lot of the outreach stuff. And because of it, I've done a lot of mingling, and it's given me a lot of opportunity to get to play with a much larger group of people than what I'm used to playing with. Like you said, we've been a pretty close-knit group for 20 some years, and there's a few other people who are not part of TT2KB that have been along for the ride here and there at points. Good players in their own rights, just people who play for a while, then they kind of disappear. You know, we have kind of a rotating cast around here a bit as far as our game group goes. But with the exception of those few other people that don't appear here on stream with us, that's really it as far as people I gamed with up until LARP, which was a different experience. But
boom. Yes. But
now, like, you know, I've appeared on like 10 different streams playing in games. I've got more invites still coming in. You know, it's been great just meeting all these other people, like Turk, who's currently chatting it up there with us. So over the Grouch Couch, you know, I did make a quasi appearance on the Grouch Couch. I played a NPC for a scene. It was fun. I don't know, like, it's been really cool to have a lot of these opportunities. I got invited to a couple podcasts that I've appeared on, you know, from doing this one. And so it's been a interesting opportunities for outreach. So, and just the amount of people I've met, you know, bringing guests onto the show, talking to people, trying to help, you know, fill the show week to week with people with different perspectives and ideas and things they want to talk about. It's been fun. I think the show has definitely run its course. You know, we start feeling like we're beating a dead horse a lot around here sometimes. So I think it's definitely run its course at 100 episodes.
Yeah, with COVID going and shutting down all the conventions and us not being able to meet other people in the industry, it definitely put a damper on. But I was always amazed by how often we did have a guest on the show. You know, I think you know, one of the things early on that surprised me, I guess, was that people picked up on the show as a pretty significant resource. You know, like actual advice. Like, I kind of thought when we got on here, we would just be two white guys talking to each other about stuff we play, and nobody would give a shit. You know, like, nobody would learn anything. They would just come along and, you know, laugh at the fact that we're idiots talking out of our asses. And this is the final episode. This is the
series and the season finale, Turk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're going to talk about what we're going to be doing starting in 2021. But yeah, this is it. This is the final countdown.
That's right. I wore my shirt. It's backwards on the screen, but, you know, we got the Wisdom Check shirt, you know, from way back when we got started. And I got one that's a little more almost appropriate for Turk's channel. Drinks well with others. So I'm not repping TT2KB tonight, but I am just repping, you know. Yeah, I'm happy you're here too, man. It's been interesting though. Like, I know we had a lot of people in kind of the early days, in particular. You know, we were talking to like Naravia, and we're talking to Stonefly. You know, we were talking to people who were just getting into the hobby. You know, Air Lasers crew was just getting started with their games and all that kind of stuff. And I got a lot of messages from people talking about, you know, things that they learned from the show, stuff that they didn't think about ahead of time, but, you know, they're glad that they watched the show because they avoided a lot of pitfalls that kind of came up at the table as a result. And, you know, that was always what I would hoped was going to happen, but I didn't actually think it would. It surprised the hell out of me.
I mean, just talk a little bit about how the show got started. Like, we were, this is going back in the way back machine now, it feels like, but sitting around talking about how we had Everstorm that we were doing. It was the only show we were doing on the channel. And Everstorm's a fantastic 5e game, homebrew, ran by our friend Levi. Levi, as people have come to know him here. But it was on Saturday nights, but it's very sporadic because we didn't have a real set schedule for it. And we still kind of don't. It's still kind of hit and miss sometimes. I've been a little better at every other week, trying to get a little more of a pattern. But because of Levi's job and our life, you know, it sometimes we run into hitches getting all six of us together to play. So but we realized we needed to have something that was more regular. So I think I pitched the idea. And I was like, we should do a podcast. And I think if I remember, they're like, who wants to hear us talk about stuff? I was like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe we could try like an episode. And we were like, we'll do it every other Monday.
I'm sure I remember. What was it? Us that came up with the idea, or was it Clint? Because I thought Clint was talking.
It may be Clint.
Because I think you and we have a long history of arguing on the internet. And We're like the
It may
only
have been-
two that really type in our Discords or in our message groups or whatever.
Yeah.
And
pretty
everyone else
active.
is like a bunch of lurkers, right? So like everybody else reads everything, but only
Yeah.
Dustin and I really go on talks. And like Dustin and I go on some stupidly long talks for no apparent reason most of the time. Well past the point where we should stop, and then we just keep going. And there it is. I thought I remembered that. So that was the kind of the beginning of it. Yeah, stupidly long.
Stupidly long debates between me and Jeff.
And so when we got started, that was the idea. Was we were going to get on, and instead of clogging up all the chat that they were watching, we would put it elsewhere, and they wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. And
it was going to be kind of like the first take of TTRPGs, where we argue about shit every week or every other week, because we were going to do it bi-weekly.
Yeah, bi-weekly. Yep. And originally, it wasn't going to be guests. It was just going to be the two of us talking about random rules discussions from the game. Primarily 5th Ed, if I remember how we were originally kind of gearing up for it.
Yeah, we were going to talk about some stuff like that. And I remember I was wanting to push for a guest early on. Like from the get-go, I was like, we should put guests on. I'm pretty sure I've got people like aligned for guests. And you guys were like, no, let's just do the first episode, just the two of you. And I was like, okay, but I feel like we need a third party to judge between mine and Jeff's arguing. Like, I feel like we need like a third voice of dissension to come in and because that's how those shows like First Take usually works. Usually have a third moderator of sorts, like to come in and be part of it. So I was like, man, that's kind of the model I think we need. So we were like, no, the first episode would be just me and you. And so we did the first episode, just me and you.
You remember that first episode?
I do. We talked about alignment, and we talked about the roleplay versus roleplay. That was the first episode. We did it all at one point, and then on YouTube it got split into 2 episodes because you guys wanted to chop them down into shorter episodes at the time.
So I remember looking back on things. The first episode, hey, welcome, Alice. First episode we had was ridiculous. Hey, Leviathan, good to see you too, buddy. That's right, final episode. Glad to have you. That first episode, though, it was a really, really good conversation. But I remember I had the flu, and your camera wasn't working.
That's right. Yeah, we had some tech issues on the first episode. That's very true.
And wow, talk about humble beginnings. But I think the conversation was immediately good. Like, we had a really, really solid one there, in spite of us being terrible at getting started and not knowing what the hell we were doing.
Out there somewhere is people listening to this on Apple like podcast, and they're like, wait, the first episode they had issues and we didn't know because they only heard us in voice, like for the 99 episodes they listened to.
I'm pretty sure I went out of my way to call it out at all the problems, and then talk about how I was guzzling NyQuil, and then it was like sneezing into a handkerchief or something. Like, I don't think I left it out there in any way that was to be missed by any chance, but
But no, that was how the show got started. We wanted to have something that was more weekly, like I said, to fill in the gaps between Everstorm games. And so we were like, we need more content for the channel. We're like, let's do this. Let's just do this show. And I mean, I think me and you both, when we started the show, we're like, we'll give this thing 6 weeks. It'll be done. I don't think we anticipated 99 episodes. Like, I don't think either one of us thought we would still be here now. Like,
no, not at all. Like,
doing this podcast. That we'd have that many guests, like
no, yeah, I definitely didn't think that part. I thought for sure, like you said, we would be pretty much a month, 2 months, maybe, and then we'd find out we had no audience, and then like that was fun, cool. Let's find something else. Cool.
We'll chop it up, put it on YouTube. It'll become an advice column. We'll be done. We'll move on to something else. But
yeah, it's been an adventure. I mean, it's been really cool. Like I think a lot of the stuff we kind of looked at like how the content kind of moved over time, and like the beginning obviously was just you and I talking about different concepts. Then we moved into bringing new players in and talking about their experiences, kind of getting into it. We kind of got into content creators, and we had a decent stint of those that were kind of coming.
Fair amount of product placements.
Yeah, a lot of those. Yeah,
people that were content creators who had products they were pushing through Kickstarters, things of that nature. Like we did a lot of episodes that were talking about things coming out, which I never thought about our show being something that could be used as advertising in a way, but it very quickly became part of that as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of an interesting thing because like the Sina Inu Kickstarter, you remember that one?
Yes.
With And
from the Philippines,
yeah,
right?
they came on, they pitched the idea, and it's something I would have never thought about, like that as a content type. But I know for a fact at least 2 people in our chat went out and bought that, and I think they finally got it here a couple months ago that the Kickstarter was fulfilled.
Did it fulfill finally, and they're out? That's great.
Which is freaking cool. Like, there's a lot of Kickstarters that kind of came through, pushing different things. That, like, again, I am just amazed that we were able to kind of come into contact with these people, to find this content in the first place, I guess, and then get to talk to them and figure out exactly what it was that went into the process of designing it, what they thought was important about the products themselves, the things that they thought would be appealing and all that kind of stuff. And then we kind of really got to hammer it out with them a little bit. And that was really cool. Like we talked to Travis Legg. We even got to play in some games that people ran for us. So it's awesome.
It was, some things I knew, like I know that we have some friends who kind of made it in the game world. Mm-hmm. And ironically, a couple of them never made it onto the show with us.
We're so effective. We have to ban bots. That's
right.
A real milestone.
Real milestone for us there. But like we have friends who've kind of made it in the game industry, and some of them never appeared on the show, like a Steve Jaros, who's
true.
A creative director behind all the Saints Row games, and one of our fellow vampire LARPers. Like people like that I've at times tried to get hold of to see if they wanted to come on here and stuff. And like, so I knew we had some people like we had Clinton Boomer was on here who wrote for Cobalt Press. I couldn't think of the word. He was writing for Cobalt Press, things like that. So we I knew in our group of friends that we had some people that we would be able to bring on at some point, perhaps. But like we didn't even tap those resources because we never got Shoshi on here to do mini painting like we thought we would. Like we missed some opportunities still with other people that we wanted to still come on here who we've known for like a decade because we had so many people that we met doing streaming, so many people that we met at conventions that wanted to come on, right? That we were filling every week with guests, and like we were kind of saving maybe some of these people for like other weeks where maybe we were going to have problems booking people, and like we just never really had a problem booking people. Like, right. We were pretty much always packed full of guests if we wanted them. So. Yeah, we were
blessed. It was a lot of awesome things falling in our lap, I think. It's pretty crazy too, I think, to see a lot of the other people in our community go on to become streamers themselves, or to be putting their games online. And I'm not sure if that's like just because it was a COVID year and everyone had a lot of time on their hands, but it seemed like a lot of people that we kind of talked to a lot went out and, were at least seemingly inspired to go run their own stream.
I think there is some of that. I think COVID has helped a lot with that, not only because people have been kind of forced inside to have more time, but because so many businesses, schools, and everything have been forcing Zoom. And Zoom or Discord, in our case, we use Discord, but if you're like in Zoom, that's like 50% of the battle. Is getting your Zoom set up. The other 50% of the battle is getting your OBS set up. Like the Twitch part's super simple. It's the OBS and the Zoom that's the hard part. So once you get those things set up, like streaming is really not that hard. Right. So I think as like us and there's more difficulties in there with other things. You start trying to do things like closed captioning like we have here, stuff. There's a lot of other things you can jump through. But I think it is safe to say that like we opened up a door and had people on here, and once they got kind of a taste of being able to do it, I think there's people then that went out and decided like I can do this, and they've started to take off and do it as well.
Yeah, and Malice has been on the show. And he's saying that COVID destroyed his successful stream. Well, there has been kind of an interesting kind of dynamic at play there. So like obviously once the lockdown happened, everyone was looking for some form of entertainment. And I think in some ways, being able to stream has kept me sane, like through all these times, being able to have some kind of interaction, something to be working towards and doing, like a purpose over this time. And I think for a lot of people, that's what they're kind of sitting, around their house, not having anything to do. And so I was really happy that we were able to put content out that people can take their mind off of what's going on. And, really just kind of relax and have a good time with our show. Hopefully learn something, But then I think once everything opened back up, all of a sudden everyone went back to full-on life, working, going back to school and all that kind of stuff. So it seems like there was like this huge peak, and there was like, oh, yep, everyone's gone. But maybe that's part of it.
I think for us, it seems a little that way because that's what happened to a lot of the people in our group.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, like this year has just gone nonstop.
Yeah.
my year has only ramped up in stress and things going on. Like my year has not slowed down in the slightest. So I know for me that definitely was not the case.
Right.
Inverse for me, but I know I'm kind of unique in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still like a factor of things that have helped me get through all the bullshit this year. But yeah, I mean, we're not going away, or like we were just switching programming, but like we're not going away. We're still gonna be doing this.
No, that's not true, Dustin. We're just gone forever. This is it. You guys don't get to see us anymore. We're gonna come on with 2 new characters. These are getting retired, and I don't know what you're playing next, but I've got some ideas for mine.
Yeah. I'm definitely re-rolling.
Yeah, I think that's probably wise for both of us.
Yeah, we just re-roll. We would re-roll all the new stats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does, Malice. It definitely sucks deleting the Jeff and Dustin characters, but we've had multiple episodes talking about death of characters and how to move on. We'll put those to good use, and we'll come back with something better. If there's anything that the Don't Sleep game has taught us, is don't get too attached to your characters.
I know what you're talking about, Jeff.
Oh, fair.
Like everything else this year, I'm like the exception to the rule. Like whatever the rule has been for 2020, you could say except Dustin, and you're pretty much correct. Like
sure,
it's been, that's just how the year has been in all. It's just like, and except for Dustin.
Yep.
We've all had time off this year, except for Dustin. We all are working from home, except for Dustin. We're all, like, it's pretty much how this year has been. So,
yeah, and like Mouse is saying, and WSNX, yeah, they both been playing some Zweihander recently. Like that was the other thing I thought was really interesting is we had a chance to try a lot of different games, and in your case, you got kind of networked directly into a whole community of Zweihander people, including Daniel D. Fox, obviously. So.
It was a cool year for some things that happened that I would have, if you would have told me when we started the show 2 years ago that like, hey, in a year from now, you'll be, a community GM for a tabletop game, I'd have been like, yeah, right, whatever. And they're like, hey, you're going to sit on a panel at a convention. I'd have been like,
God, that was awesome.
Right, whatever. Like, I'm not saying that 2020 peaked early for me, but,
yeah, right. Well, I remember we had that little
that was pretty cool. Like,
God, yeah, that was fantastic. Hey, welcome, Air Laser. Glad your power.
Welcome back,
God, that panel that was awesome. C2E2, we got to do an actual panel discussion, and I'm not gonna lie, when we went in there, I thought for sure it's gonna be us sitting in an empty room, maybe like people we know, like in the front row, and I'm not going to have any idea what we're going to do. I'm going to be like terrified to talk in front of a group. And then we get in there and we look and we're just like this gigantic fucking line wrapped around the room. And I'm like, oh, certainly that's for the room next to us, like it's just spill over from them. And I'm like, no, that door is open. There's like seats in there. Okay.
I was like, this is just the end of the Matt Mercer autograph line, right? Like it's just reached all the way back to our room.
Yeah. And then next thing I know, there's people trying to get in our room and they're backed up like around the escalator and stuff. And then we actually had people turned away at the door. Like they had to like wait until people left so they can come in. It was crazy. And then Levi just rocked that thing out.
And kudos to Levi because he put that whole presentation together and then he presented it to us like the night before and we all listened to it for the first time, like what he was going to do. And we're just all like, and in our heads, we're still thinking it's going to be like a mostly empty auditorium. A few of our significant others there, maybe at best, right? We're like, yeah, they're going to love this. They're going to hear this whole thing again. Like, it's going to be great. And then, like, we get there, and it's like a packed standing room only. Like, it was just insane. Like, just completely insane.
I mean, that honestly blew my mind. And that was, I don't know if that was the highlight, but it's up there for me for the 2020 year.
It's
I'm trying to
probably
think.
got to be. I think Gen Con would have happened.
Yeah,
It
that would've
probably
been fun.
Gen Con did not happen. I got to participate in Gen Con as a community GM for Zweihander, and
Mhm.
that was super cool. But yeah, the C2E2 was definitely probably the highlight of the year.
Yeah, even though we all as Air Laser pointed out, Cam gave us all COVID, or the con sickness or whatever it was, and we'll just let Dustin slide that he was also sick at the time, but he may or may not have been the plague bearer. I'm not sure which of the two of you gave it to us, but we were all super sick. That was like right before.
I had pneumonia the week before that, which is funny because I got pneumonia before it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, you're a
So-
trendsetter, man.
I was a trendsetter. I got pneumonia before it was cool. So
Yeah.
there's that. I still have coworkers who think I had COVID back in February, and I'm like, I didn't have COVID. But,
I honestly kind of wonder about it. Like, so looking back, I'm like, maybe, but I think everybody thinks they get a sniffle. They're like, I got COVID.
no, I'm pretty sure I didn't have it then.
Yep. But yeah, we got to meet some people there at that con, and like we met Fruitzilla there. We went to dinner. That was fun.
Right.
And
Zilla.
yeah, let's see what else. I'm trying to think of who else we ran into. We ran into
We met Zombie Decoy.
Zombie Decoy.
Zombie Decoy was there, so we got to meet Zombie and see his staff that he had made that he'd been showing a lot of. We got to hang with him. We met a bunch of whole new people while we were there too, which was super cool. People who hung out after the talk. I mean, we talked for probably another hour outside of the presentation with people who were watching.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like that was again, like that whole sequence of events. I was like, I did not expect this. Like people come up to us like we legit knew what we were talking about. Like we were important or something, and it was like, we're just some random dudes talking about homebrewing.
And it was crazy. Like I think in hindsight, and I think even Levi would agree with me, like maybe the only thing that we could have done better is if we had shortened the presentation, left just a little more time for viewer questions. I don't think that we would have expected that many people in the crowd to have like legit questions.
No, not at all.
I feel the same way about this show. I come on here all the time thinking like, we're not going to get that much interaction from people or questions or anything else. And then it surprises me every time just how much like the people have come to this show to ask questions or to, and fire those things out there. Like we did a whole episode last week where we just took viewer questions. Like we filled an entire 2 hours and there were still more questions to go. Like,
yeah.
So
well, I mean, it just goes to show there's a need for that sort of thing. And
the questions are off air, Laser. You're right.
Oh, are they? Oh, I forgot to put them on. My bad. That is kind of an important one to put on there.
I can fix it while you're talking.
Thank you, Dustin. Yeah, and I think that is kind of an amazing thing. And some of it, I think, is just more the platform is there for people to work through an issue. Not necessarily that we have answers for somebody, but like I think back to some of those like question and answer kind of series of events or like interviews we had where we were kind of working through character ideas or story ideas and that kind of stuff. And it felt like more of just kind of like a jam session or something, like we're just workshopping ideas. And I really enjoyed that stuff. Like some of those early episodes I had a really good time with, just kind of going around and trying to come up with backstories or coming up with a character concept or working out a voice or whatever, breaking people into these ideas. And I think largely they did the work. It was just kind of just showing like, hey, did you know there's a door over there you can walk through? And then they walk through it, I thought that was really cool. Let's see. Levi says that a guy ran him down by the vendor floor for advice. Yeah, that was kind of, really, that's awesome. Like for me, I got it all at the right out in the hallway there. I didn't get down there though. That's great. Yeah, earlier we were talking a little bit about that earlier about favorite celebrities that we had on the show, and we've had quite a few on here. But I think Dustin and I probably both are zeroing in on Satine.
I think that was one of the better episodes.
Yeah.
My favorite celebrity guest to talk to is, I think, easily Daniel D. Fox from Zweihander.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He's just such an easy person to have a talk to. He is 100% what he preaches. He is a seriously generous person and is, in my opinion, one of the people really pushing to make the right kind of proper changes in the industry. And the way he's organizing things for what he's doing with his products and everything, I think he's heading down the right kind of path with those sorts of things. So it's always great when I have him on here because he's just always full energy and it's always such an easy conversation. So I think those are great. I think the Larry Elmore episode again, when I was not on, but that was certainly one of my favorites. Again, just to get to watch Levi meet, one of his basically, childhood dreams is to get to talk to Larry Elmore. So it was cool to see Levi get to do that.
Yeah, and we got to dig into some like art, and not just art, but like history of an entire game. And I thought it was kind of really striking to me to talk to Larry, and the thing that he kept talking about is he didn't realize anyone gave a shit about who he was, or that he was a big deal. And like we did a little bit of talking to him after the fact. Like I'm in a game offline with his son-in-law, and he's talking all the time about how Larry doesn't sell his artwork, and he tries to give it away, and he underbids himself because he doesn't think anyone cares about his art. And I'm like, dude, this is the guy whose artwork is all over and created the entire aesthetic line of Dungeons and Dragons.
Easily. And with the exception of maybe a few of the ones done for Drist, because he's maybe one of the other more popular series that maybe was not done by Larry. But I mean, short of those two, it's Raceland and the Caraman of those, and then there's Drist, and that's really the large part of your early formation of what a lot of people in D&D think of as D&D. And he's
Absolutely.
Largely a part of that. So,
well, and the other cool thing about that episode, if you haven't seen that one, is what Dustin was talking about earlier. We went on a tour around the place, and one of the things we got to see was him working on Joe Manganiello's artwork for his character. So it was like in process. We got a behind the scenes look. I don't even know if we were supposed to see that. Like it's probably like on an NDA somewhere or something. But like we got to see that ahead of time. It was fucking so cool. Like it's like second, 2 degrees to Joe Manganiello. It's crazy.
Yeah. That brings up a question I was going to have for you, Jeff.
Okay, shoot.
What guests would you have liked to have on the show that we didn't have?
It's interesting. Well, I think if we wouldn't have got this one, but like Stephen Colbert would have been amazing to have on, just because of the relationship to the hobby and the fact that he's such like a huge celebrity. Like obviously he would never come on the show, but like that would have been pretty cool.
That would have been kind of cool.
I think we were in the realm of possibilities of having a Matt Mercer on the show. And I think that would have been pretty phenomenal.
I regularly joke that Matt Mercer was like the great white whale of Wisdom Check. Like it was like at some point, but I realize now, like, I think it would have been cool to get Vin Diesel. Like that's like, if I was going to go on like a hierarchy of like guests that I would want to see, like Vin Diesel and Joe Manganiello would have been at the top, and then probably like Mercer maybe third in there. Like I think Mercer obviously would be best like for the channel because that's a name that'll like everybody knows who Matt Mercer is. But I think as far as people that I'd like love to sit down and talk to about game stuff, like Vin Diesel would be probably the top of the list.
That would be pretty. Yeah, Terry Crews would have been another one. Yeah, it's really interesting to see who all plays, and there's a lot of people that are in like acting the play, and I guess that makes sense. Once you stop and think about it for like more than 2 seconds. Adam Savage, yes,
Savage.
Oh God, that would have been great.
That would have been a great.
Think about that one. Good call, Levi. Yeah, that would have been
a really interesting one too.
I mean, who knows though? I mean, when the conventions start opening back up and I start going back again, maybe we'll take the Wisdom Check back off the shelf and see if we can get some. I mean, I've met a lot of these people. Like I've met them at conventions. So like they come by to Dad's booth, and I have like this super secret power of being related to an artist who other people like to look at this stuff and wow about. And
can we just talk for a second about like how many friends your dad has that we had no idea he knew?
Oh my God, yes.
Like I knew your dad was doing conventions, right? And in my head, these conventions are just gigantic, few 100,000 people there at a time, it feels like. And your dad is a fantastic sculptor and an amazing artist, but it's the kind of place where there's one of those literally on every street corner.
Right.
they're peppered all throughout the convention as all these amazing artists, everything else, right? So like I knew your dad was doing really well for himself and everything else. I had no idea that he's like selling artwork to Matt Mercer and Satine Phoenix and Stephen Picorni. And like, I had no clue when we started doing this show that your dad had all those things. The next thing you know, your dad's just like, hey, I got to know these people. We're like, wait, you know them? It's like, oh, yeah, hang out with them. Like, wait, you just hang out with them all the time? Like, this is just a regular thing you do, and we didn't know this? Like, it was amazing, the people that your dad, it just shows the level of success your dad has had as an artist, which, I mean, like I said, I knew he was doing good for himself. I had no idea.
I don't think he's
level.
aware of it either. And that's the thing that's kind of amazing, is that, like, I think that's the thing that's like consistent. Like, so when we talked to Larry, it was the same thing with him, right? Like, he didn't think that he was anything special. He didn't think he knew anybody special. But like, for all of us fans, it's like, that person is super important to us. And I think that's, my dad is one of those people to other people at these conventions, and other artists and other people look up to him, and rightfully so. I look up to my dad, obviously. And it's been pretty incredible. Like, I remember going to conventions and stuff and talking to him and being like, hey, what were you doing for dinner or whatever? He's like, oh, I'm going to hang out with this guy. I'm like, wait, who? Did you just, you're going to go dinner with, I don't think I'm going to go. I'm like, what? You're going to go? Come on. Can I go? And then he's like, I don't even know who this guy is. I'm like, Dad, oh my God.
Right. I mean, it is amazing. Like I said, your dad's artwork is fantastic. I mean, it really is next level stuff. Like, I had no idea he knew all these people. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, a large part of our success was the fact that, your dad's like, I know a lot of these people, and we're like, well, cool, we'll have them come on the show. And that is how we booked a fair number of our more A-list guests that we've had over the course of time.
So there you go, guys. The secret sauce, if you want to run your own wisdom check, is have somebody who knows a lot of people already and has developed relationships with important people, and then just cozy up on there and like ride on their coattails until you get success.
Are you suggesting that it's always good to know people who know people? I mean,
maybe.
Is that the secret to success in America in general, is to know people who know people? Because you can sell me on that if you think that was true. So
we'll push it. I mean, networking has been the other thing we talked about this show. Is I think that has been one of the cooler things, is meeting somebody and then meeting people through them, meeting other streamers, meeting other communities, meeting other game designers, celebrities, friends that are just kind of out there. Like we ended up playing games with Hope. Hope Lavelle. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. We had Jen Kretschmer on. That was great. That was where we got our whole closed captioning from. She showed us that stuff and talking about disabled people in advocacy for that kind of segment of the population, and it was awesome. Just learning a lot of things. And yes, Mouse, facts. Yes, facts. Networking is good. So I think that's been really cool, and just seeing kind of like that interplay develop, because like we've seen a lot of people in our communities, especially recently, finding each other and starting to play in games with one another, or getting into video games together or whatever. And I think that is one of the cooler things that we've been able to achieve with the channel. Maybe not necessarily specifically the show, but like as a whole, I think that's been really cool.
Yeah, it has been. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite product on the show? Air Laser asked.
Well, you mentioned Sina Inu there in your question. We talked about that a little bit ago. I think that was the most fun conversation about a product for me. I think that was like one of the more interesting ones. I felt like I learned a lot in that one. I think some other ones. That's a good question. I mean, I drank a lot of the gamer coffee.
Oh, from Found Familiar?
That was some good stuff.
That was cool.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what else. I mean,
obviously, I've used the most out of this Zweihander book that I could ever possibly, and it was again gifted to us from Daniel D. Fox. So I've definitely gotten my use out of that book that he gifted us. So
facts, yes,
it has quickly become one of my favorite systems. So I think if I didn't say that, I'd be probably lying.
I think you've definitely found your game for sure, and I think we've had a lot of it on the channel, so that people. I don't know if there's a ton of Zweihander channels out there. Like,
well, they have an official channel, and there's a few other channels that are friends of ours that have ran a little Zweihander on it, but I don't think there's a ton of channels that feature it maybe as much as I've managed to feature it here. But
Well, Airlaser, you say that we should have done a giveaway at the end here to celebrate the end of Wisdom Check. And it's funny you should mention that. I tried earlier to buy a pack for something and possibly do a giveaway tonight. And I ran into some technical issues with the fact that I already own the game and it says that I can't buy it again. So even though
do you need me to buy it so that
maybe
I'll buy it. We'll get it done for next week. But yeah, we can't do it tonight. So
yeah, but we will be cooking up some giveaways here in honor of the Wisdom Check closing down and new shows coming up. So I guess we can kind of touch on that a little bit here.
Sure.
So we mentioned it last week and maybe a little bit before, but we're looking to kind of leverage that whole community idea and to expand on it more so. So instead of it just being Dustin and I or, the guys playing games by ourselves and you guys watching, we wanted to kind of bring you into some of the experiences of what we're doing. And so on Monday nights, we're looking to do a board game night because Dustin and I, at least the two of us, love board games and we never get to play them. And we found Tabletop Simulator, and it has basically every game I've ever wanted to play has been modded into the thing. So it is fantastic. And so we're going to try to get a few of those, and then we're going to bring you guys on to play. Hopefully, some of you guys will be enjoying that. And I would like to do a giveaway potentially of that game to some of you all so that you have a way in. You can actually join us. It's on sale right now, by the way. So if you're interested in picking it up beforehand, go pick it up on Steam. It is heavily discounted right now.
And if you have Tabletop Simulator, then you'll be eligible to potentially win a seat at the table playing with us on Monday nights for a show that we're calling TT2KB All Aboard.
That's right. I'm really pumped about that one. That one's going to be a lot of fun. And then Thursday nights, we're doing another kind of similar idea, but this one's going to be more geared towards, specifically video games and more of kind of like the party games. So like Jackbox. We're looking at like Among Us with you guys. We're looking at what's some other ones we're thinking of? I'm totally whiffing on one of them. What's the other party game that I was thinking of?
Well, Jackbox and Among Us were the two that we were going to primarily start with.
Totally whiffing. Yeah, those are the two big ones that we would like to start with at least. But even like other video games that are multiplayer, like who knows? Maybe we can get a server going of 7 Days to Die, where like the community plays with us like once a week. And then we just fire it up for that day.
Some of those sorts of things.
We can get some other games that people are interested in. And, I got some ideas of like how we might kind of organize this stuff. But what's that? Let's see, who's your favorite DM?
Hey, now this is one of the loaded questions. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to say Levi because it's true.
Yeah.
He's been our DM for 20 some years.
Facts.
There's nobody who puts in the same kind of work on story and stuff the way Levi does. He just does.
But we need a whole Gaston song about him.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify our Laser's question.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from Levi, because obviously he's our favorite DM, has there been another DM that you enjoyed having on the show?
DM I've enjoyed having on the show. Well, Airlaser is talking about DM Farius that we talked to. I have had a chance to play in some of his games, and he is fantastic. Really good storytelling, good narrative, really creative experiences in fights and something more than just like X's and O's. It's been pretty interesting.
That's what I said, Air Laser. That's why I said we're gonna just know that Levi is obviously at the top, and then So, duh. I mean, we play in his game. We've been playing in his game for 20 years. Like, obviously, we love Levi. So,
yeah, DM Farius is really talented. So we had him on the show a little while back. I'm trying to remember when. That was like months ago now. But yeah, he came on and we talked a lot. And so far, I played a Monster of the Week game with him, a bit of D&D, and I've watched some D&D that he's put on. And it's very, very, very creative stuff. And it's done just slightly different than what we normally do. And some of the things he does are just really clever. And it works for their group really well. So yeah, I think he's solid. You got one off the top of your head that you could think of?
Look, I think it goes without saying that I have a fair number of friends that I have made who are DMs on various channels.
Yep.
But I think as far as guests coming on the show, it's hard to top Chuck.
Chuck is a pretty fun guy.
It's hard to top Chuck. Like, first off, he is one of the hardest working people You know, I put him right up there alongside the likes of Turk from the Grouch Couch. Turk is seriously, him and Lich may be two of the hardest working people that do streaming just in general. Like just across the board. Like we are fortunate that we have a group of 6 of us that have various jobs that we kind of do to help make this stream happen. We divvied up that workload. Those guys are shouldering a lot of that just right on themselves. So just hats off to you know to guys like Turk and Lich and you know those guys that are doing it out there on their own. They do a fantastic job. What I love about Chuck though is he does a little bit of kind of writing his own thing. Like he did the entire Curse of Strahd, rewrote it for his Zweihander. Like it's just take a game and just completely relayered it for a whole different system, and then just gutted parts of it and like redid it all. Like he puts that kind of level of work into it. It's a crazy thing to see the amount of work and how much he has grown his channel and what he brings to the table with it now. Like is beyond. It really is a next level sort of thing. Like what Chuck is like doing. Like he's set in his ways. Don't get me wrong, but like he's fantastic and he's a hell of a lot of fun to watch. So I always love stopping in and checking out Defenders of Cobalt. So they're one of my favorite streams. So
yeah, he was a fun guy to game with. I haven't got to really play with him as a DM or see his DM style too much, but like playing with him was a good time. I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, he's always a good time. So I love having Chuck around.
So we got another question here. Coolest stream moment in the 2 years you've been streaming. Doesn't have to be Wisdom Check exclusively.
Coolest moments in streaming.
You know, it's kind of interesting because like, I think some of the early stuff was because it was new and it was like breaking ground. You know, when we first started getting an audience, you know, you first started having repeat people showing up. I think that was like not the coolest, but it was like one of the coolest moments. For me, it was just seeing that like there is something here. Like, I think that was pretty cool. But I have to think about the coolest moment. There's been a lot of fun stuff we've done for sure.
Yeah,
yeah. That Q times raid of 300 people was pretty fucking.
Q times raid was cool, but
yeah, it felt pretty good at the time. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean that's neat to have something like that happen. I think
I prefer that, like the community that's just there week after week, though. That really means a lot to us.
I think for me, like some of the cooler stuff was when I started getting invites to be on other streams. Like that was where it kind of turned the corner for me because like we started doing this thing on our own and we were just kind of like, let's see if anybody likes doing it. What turned the corner for me was when I started getting invites like, hey, come be on my show, like come play my game. Like it is something I'm incredibly proud of, but like the guys from Featherfall Tabletop had me come be the first non-Featherfall Tabletop member to run a game on their stream. Like, I'm sure there had to be a lot of discussion. I can imagine if we were going to have somebody come run a game on our channel, like the kind of discussions we would have to have as a group. I know they had those same kind of talks and like that for them to bring me on there and let me run a one shot, like was pretty cool. Because it just showed like that they had seen enough of our stuff here, and they had seen enough of my role play, and like heard enough of us talk on Wisdom Check about like our philosophy of game and everything else. Because they hadn't seen me run a game yet. I had not yet ran Zweihander. I had not yet run anything else. They hadn't seen me run a game at all, and they put that kind of trust in me to come on and take 4 players I'd never met, one of which was a puppet, and run them through a D&D game. So it was super cool, though. I'm not going to lie. The person behind Stephen the Demon, talented, just talented. I was so impressed by him, but at the same time, like it was you know, there's a lot there, like to decide to do. And so it's a real point of honor for me too, that they were willing to put that sort of faith in me to come run a game like that.
Yeah. I don't know if I can pinpoint one stream moment out of all of them, but like, I mean, we talked about the C2E2 panel. I think that is like the coolest thing that happened.
Oh yeah.
Like
I don't consider that streaming.
It's not streaming.
It wasn't streaming. So for me, I was kind of ruling that out. But
yeah, I don't know. Like, I had a lot of fun with the Pathfinder game. You guys and your crazy antics. Like, That's
That game was so bonkers.
the fucking stream where Animal G caused the earthquake and the sheer panic in my heart. It's like, what? Oh no. That was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was pretty cool. Like, it was really chaotic. It was a lot, but I think there was a lot of fun interaction that came from the chat that we're getting now with, Don't Sleep.
Yes.
There's just some antics there that has caused us to have to be better improv performers. And
Yeah.
just to, like, I tend to be a pretty serious gamer. You would not know from the types of characters I played on stream. But
He's not serious at all.
right, but
Total
like
slapstick.
right. So like if you look back at my old characters, up before streaming, I am not the slapstick guy.
No.
I am I am not like the crazy wild character guy. So I think streaming has kind of cracked me on that a little bit, and I think I have a good time with it. So like the Don't Sleep thing kind of has caused me to take a specific game or a specific character less seriously, and has opened up a different type of gaming for me that I didn't play before. And I'm having a good time with it. Like, I genuinely really enjoy just dealing with the nonsense that the chat's throwing at us. And,
it's been fun.
coming up with jokes on the fly and trying to make it entertaining,
I think it's safe to say that game is not what we thought it would be either.
No, not at all.
It's taken on a whole life of its own. Like, it's fantastic. I feel like it was birthed in the Pathfinder game. Like,
Yeah.
it is like the redheaded stepchild of the Pathfinder game, where like you came in with Pathfinder in this module, and because it's a module and we're homebrewers, we made the most non-serious characters we could think of
Sure did.
for that module, and we had a hell of a good time with it. But I felt like that level of interaction we got from the chat involving the hero points and the rock jostles, all that stuff, like I felt like that was kind of. And then when we came back with the same time slot with this zombie game, which we thought was going to be storyline and there was going to be like this at the other, and it turned into just chaos from the get go of chat interaction, and we just decided, you know what, screw it, just run with that, and we did, and it's been a hell of fun. So
Yeah, it's been really funny. Like, I think the 7 Days to Die kind of may have been the initial nonsense from our group, kind of seeded into the Pathfinder, into that. It's like, if you look at the number of dumb quotes we have from that 7 Days to Die server we were playing on.
Yeah, I think 7 Days to Die was maybe our first real opportunity as a group to showcase our personalities as us, like what we're kind of capable of. Like I think Everstorm, like, we have really good characters and a really good storyline, and Levi's a fantastic DM. So like it sells itself, but it doesn't really let you know us, the players, or Levi well as people.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like us sitting down and playing 7 Days to Die was maybe the first real showcase of kind of who we are.
Oh man, that's embarrassing.
I'm just saying, though, but like I think it was an opportunity for like us to kind of let our personality. Me and you had the wisdom checks. I think people who are coming here to the show regularly got to know me and you better, but like maybe some of the others who weren't doing those shows regularly, it was a chance for them to. And I think now, like, bardic knowledge like helps.
Yeah.
Like, I think people are getting to really know Cam because he's doing bardic knowledge, and like, Levi with DM to art, like, they're getting to really know Levi now too. Like, it's cool. Like,
we're also getting to know Clint's table.
we are. Clint's 3D printer is getting some quality screen time, but it is so cool to watch that thing. It's mesmerizing. Like, it's like I know when we started, like, for me, this whole channel, like, I know when we started, I was like, at some point we'll get like your
printer, what is it called? The deck.
The deck. Yeah, we were. I know, like, we were talking, like, we're like, yeah, like Levi could do an art show, Cam would do a music show. Like, me and you decided we'd do like podcasts. We'll have Everstorm. Like, those were all the things I thought TT2KB would be. And like, now we've got like arm running games. We still got Everstorm going. Mm-hmm. You ran a module. We've got Don't Sleep, which I never ever anticipated Levi would have a second game going at the same time.
No,
let alone that's much fun. like it's been this channel has been far more than I could have anticipated when we decided to start doing it. So
Absolutely.
It's been fantastic.
Yeah, kind of going back up to the chat there. Airlaser saying, see, she really missed watching Sea of Thieves with Levi's voices. Yeah, that's a game. I'm glad you all enjoyed that. We'll split that there.
I didn't hate it.
I hated that game with a fiery passion. But I'm glad you all had fun with it. So you said, oh, that's nice. The show has literally changed your life. Not exaggerating. Well, that's nice to know.
That's great.
Like, just kind of getting you into gaming, or like, what's the explanation there? It's cool.
I would still like to know who the people are downloading us in Germany. I mean, I'm just gonna say, like,
Germany loves us.
just the fact that we have like apparently a small following in Germany, is awesome. Like, but it just kills my soul that I don't know who these people are. Like,
well, there's another thing to point out: just our international audience. Period. I mean, we talk about Joker, right?
Yeah, from Chile.
We got people in multiple continents.
I'm a little more used to that because my online gaming guild, I have members from all around the globe on it. So, like, we have a friend Shackles from Israel, and like,
right.
We have Sky and them that are down in Australia. Like, we have, I'm used to having like kind of membership like from all over the place. I just wasn't anticipating we'd be getting downloads from places like Germany. Like, it's just crazy that there's people maybe listening to this halfway around the world. Like, we got people from all over the places. Malice is talking like,
I guess it just goes to show there are some people in all places that will put up with our annoying asses, Let's see. Helped you get into D&D games immensely. Got you interested in DMing. Awesome. Gained friends. Yeah, I would say so. Absolutely. And you're interested in trying Vampire now. That's fantastic. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I know it's something that I didn't anticipate when we started on this was that, like, I would be 3 campaigns into a Zweihander setting that I would have, that I would be filling it with not my normal group. Like, I'm not filling it with you guys for the most part. You did play in the second one, but like, it's not you, Cam, Levi, and Clint like in this group. Like, I've filled it with people from outside of TT2KB. I didn't know it was going to become that exactly, but I'm lining up a 3rd campaign now that starts next month, and I'm super excited for it. And I got a great cast again, and I don't know. I think I've captured a certain amount of magic with the first 2 campaigns. So, and I think Bitter Harvest last night was not my story, so I can't take credit for it, but I did do a pretty good job of running it, I think. And I think there's been some really, really cool moments from Treefell, Huttenberg, and Bitter Harvest that are the kind of reactions that you want from your players, and the kind of like things that you want. Those are the things that I strive for as a GM, that I have got to see take place in all 3 of my campaigns. And
if you guys don't know what that is Dustin wants absolute gut-wrenching horror out of your characters. He wants you guys to feel that you wish to leave this earth quickly, but it doesn't happen. And then you turn on your friends just so that hopefully you'll be the first one out.
No one turned on each other in those games. The first game they did, but nobody in Horn Huttenberg turned on each other. You guys did a good job of being super friends.
I don't know.
You had a pecking order. He made me want to punch him, maybe. Yeah. But I mean, I think that I think World on Fire back in March really set the tone for what Ender games are going to be when I pushed that party to that extent. And then I think the last session of Horror in Huttenberg was maybe my best work.
It was pretty intense, man.
That last session was pretty crazy.
That was a lot to juggle.
There was a lot there. That probably is my best GM work I've done, was the end of Horror in Huttenberg, more so than the end of Terror and Treefell. I'm looking to see if I can top myself in Vigilantes of Valandria. I'm pushing myself to try to
good luck,
hit even harder. But like, there's certain moments in there, like where Alex Thomas, the player of Asher, was just like, "Did you know we were going to do this?" I was like, "Yeah, actually, I did." Like, yeah, So there's just little moments like that, or like last night when Horst, finally reveals their part in this whole plot. And just I didn't have the cams on at that time because there was a cam issue, but the look on Debbie Snacks's face last night when the plot was finally fully revealed.
Yeah.
Like, you can hear her gasp, but to see her face at the time, you had to just see it, just jaw completely wide open, just in complete stunning shock of what she just heard. Like, you could see the 3 to 4 seconds of just stunned before she make a response to what she had just heard. And delivering those sorts of plot twists on players and watching them just sit there in stunned amazement, like when I dropped that Death Star, the Star Destroyer, onto the map, and they were like when I dropped it on there, you see Chuck just like, oh, did we fuck up that bad? Chuck's like, I don't know what to do. Like, you know how hard it is to get Chuck to not know what to do? Like, he's a seasoned player. Like, so, the little things like that are what bring me joy as a GM. And this year, I have ramped up my GM game, and I'm looking to run that straight into Vigilantes and also into iKindred. So
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to expanding on those, and I think it's going to be hella fun.
Oh yeah, I'm so ready to play some World of Darkness again. Man, it's an old itch. It is there. I got to scratch that sucker. I mean, pun intended, I guess, in that case. God, that's going to be fun. When are we starting that? You said it was in the new year, obviously, but with work being crazy, I'm assuming it's going to be a little later.
Yeah, it may get pushed back just a hair because lots gone on this last couple of weeks with work. Mm-hmm. And I was supposed to be heading to day shift really soon, and that may still happen, but the timetable's been messed up a bit due to COVID and some other stuff going on. So when that clears up at work, I'm hoping in another week or two, by like the 14th or so, I'll have a good idea. I've already got a start date for Vigilantes of Valandria, so that is already a go. That's the 23rd of January. That Sunday will be, it may be a double header. That may be the last episode of Something About Marie, and then turn right around and do character creation that night for Vigilantes. So I may pull a Zweihander doubleheader that day.
God, man, you don't like to actually ever rest, do you?
There is no rest for the wicked, my friend, and I am the most wicked of us all. So I
don't know how you.
I think I prove it just about every time I run Zweihander that I am perhaps the most sinister of the group. By far. I mean, Bowron is a pretty good example of it as well. But
before you know it, you're going to be capturing like Cyclops and Jean Grey. It's going to be really awesome, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll figure it out. But it's going on Wednesday nights, opposite of Don't Sleep, for however long Don't Sleep goes. When I can get started is a lot to do with when you guys actually finish your character sheets and Roll20 and give me concepts. I've gotten a concept from a couple people. I've gotten like character sheets from you. So there's some of that's on you guys more than it is me even, but there's a lot of work on my end I still got to do. So it'll be a little bit longer. I'm going to do a few more GM prep sessions where I got to get some more stuff put together for the systems, and then we'll see how it goes.
Sounds good. And Air Laser reminding us about Jason's mom. So some of you guys may not remember this or have been around in the channel history, but there was an early stream where some younger viewers came on who apparently were being scolded by their mother for the fact that we had filthy mouths.
I forgot about that.
And Jason's mom kept coming in and threatening to ground Jason if we said any more cuss words. And we thought he was joking, so we kind of just kept fucking around. And then we got in this whole thing about Jason's mom threat levels. It was like hurricane tracking. Oh, man, it was so good. People started changing their names in the chat to be Jason's mom, and then it was a whole thing. It was great. Oh, that was so good. Yeah, that's funny.
Fun.
Hey, Animal G, welcome. We're just kind of catching up on favorite moments and talking about stuff that's happened over the year on the channel. If you got any random questions for us, about the stream, about the show, about gaming, anything you want to bring up, let us know. It goes for everyone in the chat, of course. We're just kind of reminiscing. We're having our way back episode, where we show up and we're like, remember that time we hung out by the car?
If there was one piece of advice that you would consider the most important thing viewers of the Wisdom Check can take away, what do you think it would be?
I think we circled back to one concept so many times, it has to be it. And that's the social contract at the table. Sitting down and understanding your group, the dynamics at play, what works and what doesn't work, where the limits are, how comfortable people are with playing with those limits, and just being a little more introspective. Like just trying to take the time to actually tailor your game to the group that you're playing with. I think that would probably be it for me.
Yeah, I was going to say something very similar. I don't know if the word social contract was going to come up in my head, but I think I was going to go lean more towards the idea that just know that there's no one right way to run a game.
Amen.
You could make some arguments that there's a few wrong ways to run a game.
Yeah.
And I think there's been plenty of high profile examples of it over the last 2 years that we've gotten to sit and observe in some cases. I think there's definitely things you can do wrong that could be very harmful to people. So again, the social contract is, as you're saying, is super important to that. But I think that at the end of the day, and this goes again, kind of touching back to the contract, right? Like what works for your table and for you is perfectly acceptable, and that's what you need to strive for and do is what's best for your table. And if that's what works the best for you, like take our advice, leave our advice, try something different. And if it doesn't work, drop it and forget it. Like you tried it didn't work, move on. Don't try to be Matt Mercer. Don't try to be Satine Phoenix. Don't try to be any of these other, celebrity DMs that you might see on some of these highly produced shows. Like be you, know your table, and have a good time.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing I would suggest as a common thing we've said is get out of your own way. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Acknowledge the fact that you're going to make mistakes, and that's probably the best thing that could happen. It's get out there and just have the experience of doing something. And I think that goes a long way to showing any level of success. We've talked a lot about how most people that are trying to get behind the driver's seat of running a game feel terrified, anxious. They feel like you're not convinced they're going to put on a good enough show, make it a good enough story, know the rules well enough, that kind of stuff. That everyone who runs a game feels that. Every session, I think. I would imagine Levi would back me up on this. I think Levi probably feels a great deal of stress before every game session. And that's just the way it is. So don't let that be the deterrent,
And this is I think when I say this, and he's in the chat, Levi is, so I'm sure he'll back me up when I say this, just like he'll back what you said. Streaming hasn't changed that a lot. I think Levi was already super nervous before every single game session when we weren't streaming. Because, and he'll tell you, he runs Everstorm for the five of us that are players. He's nervous that we're not going to like the game. Mm-hmm. He hopes the rest of you like it, but he's nervous that we won't. I think at the end of the day, I think he'll probably agree with that once the chat catches up. Like he always stresses over we will like it.
Yeah.
Everyone else is, it's not for you, chat. And Levi will be the first to tell you that Everstorm is our baby, and that's why we love Levi, because we know he puts that level of time and dedication into it, and that he cares that much about it. So, again, that just is what it is. So,
exactly. I was looking back up here. Animal G was saying that he's playing with an experienced group, and because he's watched us so much, they don't seem to think he's a noob. Fantastic.
Well, that's great.
That is great to know that you've had the opportunity to kind of jump in, get some gaming under your belt, and it's even better that you feel like you can hit the ground running. It's awesome. That's a lot of it. People are nervous about trying things, about, like we're talking about in the chat here, doing a stupid voice. Actually, I was just talking to, my dad is running a game for one of the first times. and he's learning about Roll20, and he's running games for people who've been playing a long time, and some of them with like people who originated the games. So there's a little bit of a stress element there. But I've been watching him go, and he's doing a fucking fantastic job. And like, there's a couple new players in that group, and they're asking like, how do you do this stuff, like making voice and stuff? I'm like, you just do it, like you just get out of your own way, and you don't worry about embarrassing yourself, and you put all that embarrassment on your character, and you just move on,
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with the DMing. Like Levi is not afraid to make a goofy voice or a silly face or any of that sort of thing, and that's going to be on the internet forever. So if he was nervous about it, we'll see how many seconds it takes for him to comment here in the chat.
He's got a strong theater background. I don't think those sorts of things face him at all. I'm not from a theater background, so it's a little harder for me to do those things. Like, I do them, but like I try to when I'm GMing, I focus more on the narrative more so than the NPC quirkiness, things like that. So that's definitely my wheelhouse. So.
Yeah, earlier they're saying that Wisdom Check and TT2KB has really encouraged her to RP and try voices. Nice. Yeah, I think that's been a lot of fun. Let's see, Malice saying LARPing is the biggest thing I did to improve my tabletop. Yeah, we've talked a lot about that. And I think for Dustin
LARP was very influential to us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was a huge influence for us. I think for me, and I know we've said this in a couple episodes where we talked about LARP, and we had Malice on the show. We talked about LARP, Vampire in particular. I think for me, LARP was where I turned the corner of playing a character and giving him personality to playing a character and giving him a narrative, because you had to. Otherwise, in LARP, you had nothing to do. So you had to learn to self-direct narrative, and I think you see that reflected strongly in my D&D characters. I think you see it reflected strongly in probably how I write my games, and the way that I approach just gaming in general. There's a strong Elysium on the Prairie LARP influence in there.
Yeah. Well, I think just being on the other side of the curtain for LARP taught us a lot too. Yeah. I mean, we got to see a lot of how other people were playing the game, what their experiences looked like as a result of those decisions. We got to see from like the eagle eye, what sorts of things made for a good night of a game. And it wasn't the things that a lot of us thought they were initially. So when we went back as players, I think we had a much better idea of how to create fun and enjoy the game,
There's a little different level of spoon-feeding plot that you do at LARP, because you've got 50-some players. Mm-hmm. You're going to pick one or two random ones, and you're going to give them a bone. You're going to say, here's your bone. Take it back to the other 49, and we'll see what happens. So you're just,
Angel Shadow, much appreciated.
So like, I think that was the cool thing about STing LARP, was it's like, okay, I don't know where this is going to end, because there's too many variables, there's too many characters. I don't know what new person's going to show up next week, what other person's not going to be here next week. You do not have control at LARP the way you do at a table with 5 players who show up regularly.
Truth.
It's just the truth. So you just throw a little chaos into the pool and watch the ripples, and then watch the ripples bounce off of objects and re-ripple again. And you just learn to ride those waves of chaos at LARP, and then until your story, and then you spoon feed a little more in, maybe somewhere else completely, and you spoon feed a little more plot in until all the pieces slowly come together, and then a plot happens, and the movers and shakers will make the thing finally happen. So it's always interesting to see that process, and then to figure out how to take that same sort of magic and do it with 5 people at a table is incredibly hard, but is definitely, I think, a part of what I kind of strive for a bit for when I'm telling my stories and what I've done with my Zweihander campaigns, for sure. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just looking over here. The other thing that's kind of blown me away is the support we've got from the community. Like Death Angel Shadow being an example here. I mean, that's a 9-month streak of subbing. That is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, there's some people with some pretty long streaks going, and I don't want that to ever go, without notice. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we try to make a good effort to like always say something, but like beyond just what we're saying here, it does mean a lot to us.
It does.
I mean, it's been really really cool to get that energy from you guys, to hear that you enjoy what we're doing, that you're getting something from the experience. It just gives, I don't know, for me it just gives me that like little bit of knowledge that like I'm doing something for somebody else and they're enjoying that. Like
if you would have told me when we started that there were people who would just show up every week to watch us,
yeah,
I'd have been like, yeah, maybe.
mm-hmm.
If you'd have told me there would be people who would show up every week and donate bits on the regular, I'd have been like, really?
Yeah.
If you'd have told me there's been people who would sub every month for like 18 months,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, nah, they'll sub a couple times and they'll like, they'll flake off, go find something else to do, right? But no, like we've had some very, very consistent and faithful viewership. So like it's
14 months.
It's super cool, like that we've had those people along for the ride for this long. Like I remember when Clint and Levi, I think, were the ones that worked on the reward, the sub reward icons, those dice, the 4, 6, 8, 20, all the way up to 20. And I remember when he made a 20 and it was like,
we're like, that's never getting used.
I was like, no one's ever going to have that thing. Like nobody's going to sub us that many months in a row. Like, but no, you know what? There's people who've legit earned it. Like
We may have to go with some like different colored D20s or something, platinum edition.
yeah. Remember the D100? Oh
Yeah.
man. Is that
Just
a
a
mess?
circle.
Ooh, yeah, just a big circle that never stops rolling when you try to roll it.
Oh, what a mess and what a nightmare. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's part of the reason. Like we've had a long time to get to know you guys, at least in chat format, and I would really like to kind of jump that next bridge and bring you into some stuff. So like, if you weren't here earlier at the beginning of the show, we were talking about what we're planning on doing in the next next year, I guess technically. It sounds weird every year around this time saying that, but next year we're looking to bring on some more interactive shows where you guys can come on with us and play games with us. So
Right.
hoping to get a chance to talk to some of you guys, get to play some games, get to kill your mans, do the
I
stuff
will
that
kill your mans. Or will I ever kill your mans?
Oh man, Dustin and I are ruthless. Dustin probably more ruthless than I, but
Yeah, listen, I'm monopolizing ruthless around here. It's okay.
yeah, you suck the ruthless right out of the room.
I do.
But we have a tendency to play for keeps, so bring your A games is all we're saying.
I'm just saying, if you're not extorting people in Settlers of Catan, you're not really playing Settlers of Catan.
Facts. Animal G is saying he will always assist in killing my characters. You are going to be a willing accomplice to that terrorist across the way from me? I see how it is.
He will.
Yeah. Yeah, Air Laser, I can see that. Yeah, that was unfortunate timing that you missed the one live game where my character died. Yeah. And you also, got to see Dale die. Yep. Yep.
It's funny. It's how there's like a lot of people who always kind of get that like sense that like if they don't show up, like something like bad will happen. Air Lasers now suffers from that. The one time she didn't show up to Everstorm, her favorite character died. Like so now she has to show up constantly.
Well, that's true, but Chris Derps is also a part of that. First day Chris Derps showed up was moments before Skeezer died. It was like 2 or 3 minutes prior. And that was the thing apparently that sealed the deal for him becoming a super fan. So, the combination of Air Laser and Chris Derps, it's like a polarity of situations there. And that was the death knell for Skeezer. Rest in peace, little buddy.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there are any other big moments that really stood out to us. I do want to say, definitely go check out our YouTube again, because there's a lot of those early episodes of the Wisdom Check that, in hindsight, had a lot of value. I think, there's a lot of them where you can go back and really pick up some real gems in there. Some of our guests had a lot of really interesting things to say, really good advice from some of the writers and other DMs and GMs and stuff that we talked to, and I think you would really benefit from checking those out.
99 Animal G, 99, which includes the only on Twitch VOD of the Stefan Picorni episode that never made it to YouTube because it was such a train wreck.
Yeah. Hey,
the lollygaggers are here.
Welcome.
Welcome, lollygaggers, here to the last episode of the Wisdom Check. Mm-hmm. I know Chuck's in that crew there somewhere, so mad props again to DM Chuck.
Awesome. Welcome. Yeah, we're recapping some of the history of this show and talking about the channel and how we've felt about things that have been going on this year, and kind of reminiscing on some of the really fun interviews we've had with people, and just trying to have a good time with it. So if you guys got questions for us about gaming, about streaming, about whatever, we're up for answering them. But to kind of reiterate something else we were just literally talking about seconds before he came in, is in the new year, we're starting 2 new shows. And so one of them is going to be board games, where you guys can join us and play some board games on stream. It's going to be fun. And we got another night, it's going to be video games, where we're going to bring you in, and we're going to have some good times there. So hoping to get a lot of community involvement. So if you like we're going to be doing Jackbox games, we're going to be doing Among Us. We may do a server for 7 Days to Die. And then a lot of, like, Monday night's going to be all Tabletop Simulator. I've already dug out a few games I think we're going to have fun playing. I got turned on to a couple games. We're playing Marvel Legendary now, and that's a card builder game that's really fun. Settlers of Catan, obviously, is a classic. Let's see, what else are we thinking of? But one of the other ones I saw was, there's one, it's like a train trolley problem. So, like, you compete to make... You know what the train trolley problem is, right? Like the philosophy question of, like, you know, if you have 2 people and you don't want to run over them with a train or whatever. So they made a game where literally you get into teams. So, like, say it's you versus me, and we have 3 good cards to choose from to put on our track to make the person not want to run over that person. And then we get a bad person that we get to put on our track to make them want to kill that person. And then you have a neutral thing that you can put on. It's like it changes something about one of those cards, and you can change the other person's cards. And then you just sit and you try to, like, negotiate with the train conductor which team should get run over and for what reasons. It's just a bunch of nonsense. And I thought it would be really funny, even if it was just you and me playing each other, have the chat be the conductor that has to vote who dies.
We could totally put a poll up in the chat and have them vote on it at the end.
So I thought that'd be really funny.
I would stuff the ballot box with channel points.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that would be a lot of fun. Yeah, Malice is canceling sub because we're canceling the Wisdom Check. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So we got a question in from Air Laser.
Oh, hit it up.
How do you deal with the players that constantly run stuff by you before making decisions for themselves? I don't want to guide them too much since it's their character, but clearly need some validation.
Ooh.
Well,
okay.
That might depend on the gravity of the situation a bit. Like last night in Zweihander, I had a player who was very indecisive about what to do in a very stressful situation, and it got clipped. You can see the clip. I quite literally say, I'm not telling you what to do. I got you this close to death. I'm not letting you just walk out of here alive by telling you how to get out. Like, you got to figure that out on your own. And I just flat out will tell my players that. Like, if it's a stressful situation and you want to put gravity on the player's choice and you want that choice to be what life or death is, I don't think you can tell them much. Like, if it's just trying to find a plot clue, I am far more forgiving. If it's if I do this, is this going to happen? You know, this sort of deal. Like, if it's something that's going to move the storyline along, I'm usually more forgiving on it. So for me, it's kind of depends on the situation. Mm-hmm. And maybe how new the player is, maybe.
Yeah, I think something else that can kind of go along with that good advice that Dustin's given is some of it, I think players, when they first start playing, are really stuck on the idea that their character's actions reflect on them. That, like, the character's success reflects on their personal success. And I think breaking that illusion is good. Like, I think once somebody recognizes that my character can fail and that's okay, and that's funny, or it put us in a bad spot, but it was fun because we had to deal with repercussions, that people aren't going to get mad at you for not doing the optimal thing at the table, that kind of stuff. I think once you break that in somebody's head, then they will probably stop doing the double checking with you is okay. Now, if it's a new player that doesn't know the game or gaming in general, some of that could just be alleviated by talking through some of the basics of the rule system, maybe describing like how you will do scenes, like in the general sense, not like in a specific case by case, but like just to make the process a little bit more familiar, and so it fades in the background. And then I think they'll stop paying so much attention to it and needing so many answers from you up front. And then I think a lot of it's going to be on your other players too. Setting good examples. And we've talked a lot about that the culture of your table is created by the players and the DM together. So if you got a good group of people and they're on the same page of wanting to have a good game together as a group, having an experience together, you'll get there. Let's see.
Says with backstory decisions. Well, with backstory, if you're the DM, players are going to ask you a lot because ultimately whether that backstory matters at all is 110% determined by if you as a DM use it.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just a story. So with backstory, if I'm playing in a serious campaign where backstory matters more, like I guess I expect more questions from my players about, hey, is this going to tie in with what you're doing? Is this like something that's going to work in your game? Like those things, I'm always more than happy to answer those questions.
Yeah, and I think there are some classes, like a ranger as an example, that where you have to choose like a favorite.
Right.
It might be relevant to say, hey, I'm playing a ranger. Is there anything I should be inclined to be, favored against, so that I have a role-playing reason and a mechanics kind of stance to kind of do a thing. I think it's important in like what you're saying. Like if you're going into like a complex political game, it may be good information for a player to have. Like when they're setting up their character. Hey, you're making like a super beat people's ass, troll barbarian guy. Is this character going to work for your game? And he says, well, it's going to be a little challenging. I'm looking at doing this. And if they still want to play it, cool. But, it's good to know.
I think it's safe to say that when Levi puts a game out there and we know that he's writing it himself and we know it's in his world, you don't get Clash's Clay Dyson.
Right.
And Jeff says, I'm picking up a Pathfinder module and we're going to try a new system. I don't know anything about the world it's in because it's not Jeff's world. I don't know anything about the adventure because Jeff didn't write it. So I don't know anything going in blind. At that point, I am probably going to lean ever so slightly towards something a little more quirky and fun. So there was a far fewer questions to Jeff. In fact, I don't know if I told him anything.
Nope.
Prior to walking in with Clash's Clay Dyson. And that's a character that you only get in a game like that where it's a short run. It's for pure entertainment purpose. And at the same time, like he had motivations and goals, but he did not really have a super strong narrative. So like, it was the kind of game you're running and your investment in it as a DM, your players will kind of help feed off of that. So like I said, that's not a character I would ever take into like Everstorm if Bowron died and been like, I'm going to play Clash's Clay Dyson and try to do that for 2 years. Like it's not a character with that kind of longevity. So
exactly. Death Angel Shadow, I saw your question. I was about to get to it, but thank you for cashing in and redeeming the wisdom check questions. I always like seeing that. So you were saying, so curious on the Monday streams, you think you'll be entertaining and answering questions along with the gameplay, or just focus on the immediate game? I think if we literally just played the game, it would be boring as hell. So if you guys have questions, I am totally cool with answering those questions, so long as we don't completely disrupt the flow of the game. And hopefully entertainment will happen.
If you play board games anything like most people play board games, sometimes with certain games, players take a fair amount of time on their turn. And so there's a lot of time for just across-table commentary, and we may be able to entertain having a few of you at a table playing a board game with us, and we'll all be bantering with each other and having a good time. But if you have questions, we might, I don't know if we'll leave it up as redeem wisdom check question, but we might put a redeem question, just leave it up there as a thing that if you redeem it, we'll take a minute and answer it or something if you have a question. This is still tabletop to keyboard, and we're still tabletop gamers. We're going to be doing some board gaming and stuff, but like, if you have questions about the game, if you have questions about tabletop, like I'm sure it's going to be a lot more looser format. We're not going to have guests per se. We're going to have other players perhaps, but not guests.
Yeah, it won't be an interview so much. So I mean, clearly it won't be that. So if you have questions, honestly, like anytime somebody has a question, I mean, if I'm online and I'm dicking around, ask me the question. I'll be happy to answer it. It's good to do on the stream.
You don't have to wait till Monday night. Hit us up in Discord.
Yeah.
I answer questions all the time.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of, talking across the table, getting things. So, like, say, for example, if you're Death Angel Shadow, if you do end up on the show with us playing board games, while we're playing the board game, if you got questions about tabletop stuff, we can do, like, a pseudo wisdom check while we play board games, Yeah.
It can very easily become like a between two ferns sort of,
Mouse wants to know what the redemption of a wisdom check question. That's he's so serious about these wisdom check questions. He's asked how tall I am. Well, not very is the answer to that. I am 5'9".
I rate in at a towering 6'1".
I am the short guy in our group, by a pretty reasonable margin, I think.
I don't think I'm the tallest though. I think Clint's taller. Is Clint taller than me? I feel like Clint's taller than me. He's pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's real close in that range. But
Clint's pretty close to as tall as I am. Mm-hmm. I know Levi's shorter than me. I'm pretty sure I stand taller than Levi, and I know I stand taller than Tim. Almost
Tim's pretty tall. Too. Yeah,
Tim's tall, but I don't think he's as tall as I am. So, but I think Clint is. Yeah, we're both 6'1". I was gonna say I feel like Clint looks at me eye to eye, like we're the same height. But I wasn't positive for that. So,
yeah, being Hispanic, I don't get to be tall.
There was another question up there too. I don't want to miss it. Do you do story or backstory first?
Oh yeah, okay. I did.
It was up there. It was redeemed. I didn't want to miss that one.
Good call.
He tossed that in. He's got another one he's following up here too. So we'll make sure we get both of his in real quick. Do I do story or backstory first? That depends on whether I'm the GM or a player.
Mm-hmm.
As a GM, I'm writing my stories ahead of time, and then I modify them based on backstories given me by players. And I find good ways to try to rope in those backstories into the main plot arc, like attaching limbs to the spine. I create a monster out of both limbs and spine. The spine is my responsibility. The limbs are that of the player's stories, and it creates this beautiful monster when it's done. Mm-hmm. So I played basketball and football. So I was more basketball than football.
I played football, but
I broke my collarbone. Yeah. That ended that abruptly.
But I broke my ankle. That's also ended mine abruptly, and my track and field days.
So for me, it depends on which one I am. Obviously, if I'm the GM, like I'm not writing player backstories, just writing.
I guess to kind of get some clarification on your question, are you talking about when you're making a character, like a PC? Where do you start? Do you start with the story of the game or your backstory, or are you talking about like Dustin's getting at the GMing side of things, and then? While you're talking about that, I guess we can kind of glance at your other question here. What
are we taking with you from the show?
We already told some of you guys we're retiring our characters, so Dustin and I, we're going to trade out for some cooler ones.
I already started working on my next character.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I'm going to be taller next time.
Dustin version 2.0 is going to be way cooler than Dustin version 1.0. So,
see, Quail Deity, your question was as GM, because that's mostly your side of the table. Yeah, I think there's two ways you can kind of go about it. If you have a strong central narrative that you intend to run, I think you have to start with that and then take the information that you can give out to your players, give them somewhere to start, and then see what their backstory is, and then have that modify your story down the road so that it ties all in. Alternatively, if you have more of a sandbox kind of open-ended story, I think that you do better if you start with the players' backstories and then construct your central narrative off of what they're doing. In that circumstance, I think they're completely different places.
To me, all games are birthed in one of two ways.
Mm-hmm.
Every game I've ever been in, it finds its birth in one of two places. Either one, hey guys, I got this game I want to run.
Mm-hmm.
And what they mean when they say that is, hey guys, I have this idea for a game that I want to run.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the second place that it's birthed from is the exact same sentence. Hey guys, I have this game I want to run.
Right. Yeah, system.
And what they mean is I bought this new game and I want to try it So make characters and tell me what you're playing, and then we'll just run something. The second one is where your improv characters are going to be mostly brought, because you didn't come up with a story idea. You're not using you're using a new system and you want to just try it out. So you're using pre-gen characters, you're using a module or something from the back of a book, and you're just running it. And the story is really either heavily in the module that you purchased, or it's heavily in the characters and just coming up with something ad lib for them to do so you can try out the systems. And maybe that's how this whole game is going to start. It can run for a year after you start it out that way. But it all starts with that idea that it's going to be based around these characters that are created on the spot because you walked in with a new book and you want to try it. Yep. The other is, I had this really cool idea or concept, and that's where the game is born. And so the players then make characters and they bring into that concept, but that concept is still the spine of that story. Mm-hmm. And that is usually where my games come from. I'm not usually one who just goes out and buys a new system. Like, hey guys, I'll make characters for this because I want to see this game. Like, I'm not typically that person. So mine always are almost from the other side.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because, like, I've had games where I've had a really strong idea what I'm wanting to do, and I run it straight through, and that's how it goes. I've had other games where I've had a really strong sense of what I wanted to do, and then I started watching what the players were getting into, what they were focusing on, what their interactions were like. Then I went, oh, okay, dump. Here's my new story. So, like, I think it's a lot of just you got to feel out your table and what is really hooking you and people that are at your table. Like, I've had games where, like, I thought an idea was really exciting until I got to the table with it. And then I realized I'm not into this. And I've just changed it up on the fly. So, like, I don't think you have to be married to one particular concept or idea. It can be useful in, your prep work, that kind of thing. Obviously, you want your prep work to matter. But at the same time, I think it's okay to just swap it out, if you need to. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a true answer for that particular question, but I like taking in character backgrounds primarily just to get a sense of what people are wanting to get out of a game. Because I think they'll reveal it in what they make their character. If you got a person, like 3 of the players show up and they're making swashbucklers, maybe you should lean into swashbuckling adventure. I think that it helps to make everything go smoothly.
And it's tougher for longer campaigns because, like, you asked me, well, Dustin, where were you in life and mindset 2.5 years ago when you made Bower and Harrows? I'm like, well, it's a little different spot than I am now. Like, so what I might want or get out of a game now is drastically different than 2.5 years ago, maybe. So, like, depending on the length of the campaign you're in and the longevity of the characters, things like that, like, sometimes those things are going to change a bit. So the background I wrote 2.5 years ago, like, there's still pieces of it intact, but I've expanded on it greatly. So through the course of the game, like, that's why maybe I'm not quite as maybe married to the backstory as some people are. My backstory is usually pretty short. They help define a personality, and then I run with it from there. So, yeah.
Let's see. Catch up on the questions.
Yeah, that's right. I was not pretty funny. That's true, but it's fucking amazing.
Let's see. Air Laser, I think, was the next one that I hadn't read. One of the best parts of the Wisdom Check has been watching the quality of stream improve from day one where Jeff was super sick, facts, to now with good mics, lighting, and a green screen. How has it been throughout the improvement of the stream week to week? Yeah, I mean, that's been a big part of it. I mean, obviously, we never expected, like we said, to have an audience. And then that evolved into having an audience that was donating money to us. And one of the big things we talked about is if we're going to do something, do it right. And, when we first started off, we had crappy equipment, crappy mics, crappy cameras, had no idea what we were doing. Internet was super slow, so the streams were laggy and crashing all the time. Everything was going wrong. And, over time, it was really cool to be able to look and say, okay, get into the technology, understand what the equipment was, why certain things are working, why lighting was important. Dustin's going to say he doesn't care about any of this stuff, right?
Okay. No, I'm going to exactly say that. That's exactly what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it in a nicer way. When we started this, the only one who understood was Clint. And our early shows are largely responsible to the fact that Clint ran the stream. And what happened over time is that Clint rubbed off on us. and slowly we learned what he was doing to make this stuff work. And then slowly, due to certain circumstances, there was times where it was like, Dustin, you got to run the stream this week. And so then I had a crash course in how OBS works. To do things that was far beyond what I was doing on Plague State when I was streaming video games before we really started T22KB. I was already streaming over on Plague State doing video games. Like I kind of had an idea how it worked, but like there was a lot of things in there that I didn't know how to do. And so there was a lot of early on stuff where Clint really crazy was the one who like he was kind of showing us like how to do some of that stuff, and like a lot of those early streams like were only happened because Clint was running them. we would have never made it otherwise, I think, on some of those.
Yeah, the initial setup was pretty brutal. Just getting over that initial learning hump.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of little weird things you learn while you're streaming. So I'll kind of dovetail Quail Didi's question about what our stream setup is. I mean, there's little things you learn when you start streaming that you would never have paid attention to. You know, like just where things sit, you know, like where your frames are, like what information is where, you know, how long an intro should be, probably too long in our case. You know, what sorts of things you should put out there. There's a lot to figure out, but
you learn how not to fidget and move so much because you'll be off frame.
Yes, yes.
You learn how to not say a million and a half times, or at least try not to, or
Amen.
Ooh, that's a rough one.
Yeah, or is mine. Yeah,
yeah,
and yeah. That was my God. Those Let's Plays, the early days of Let's Plays. Oh my God, editing that stuff was a nightmare. But Quail Didi, my particular setup that I have that you're listening to right now, I've got a Blue Yeti sitting right there. I've got the boom mic. I've got the little like shock mount. It's got the windscreen thingy on, and it's got a pop filter. That up there is a Logitech 922C. I've got a ring light over there, and I'm trying to look up what the actual big light is up here. Clint, I think, has that information probably more at his disposal. But we all got one of these nice, like, kind of small lights that has different coloration. And then back here, we got obviously, I got a green screen. This one is a fold-up guy, which is pretty nice. So
yeah, it is cool.
Pulls up like a film reel type thing,
Yep. It looks like the inverse of the screens that if you're our age, the teachers used to use overhead projectors on. They would pull down at the front of the classroom, like it would be bolted up there, and they would pull it down. These are like the opposite. They sit on the floor and they pull up. So they're suspended up that way. But otherwise, other than being the color green, they remind me a lot of those overhead projector things they would pull down in front of the chalkboards at school. But
the other thing where you learn, as Malice is pointing out, is you start to get really snobby about people's cameras and mics. Like things you never hear
from the conversation, because I do not notice any of it. This is all at Jeff and particularly Clint Hell that they live in that I don't live in. I do not notice anything at all.
God, I hear like every single, well, maybe not to the same degree as Clint, but I hear a lot of defects in mics, and like the camera stuff drives me nuts. Like right now, looking over at the green screen going on with Dustin is killing me, because for some reason his camera, we have the exact same light. We have the exact same green screen.
We don't have the same light.
We don't have the exact same light. And we have the exact same green screen. And somehow, that lighting and his camera have made that color completely different than what my color is. And I don't understand how that's possible.
So I don't know why we're listening to him talk about colors anyway. Jeff don't know colors or what. But my setup, I got this super cool Yeti Nano. And you're like, why'd you get a Yeti Nano? Because I could get this really cool color that matches the rest of my man cave, because it's all about aesthetic for me, and I don't know the difference in sound quality, so I could care fuck all. I did not get the super cool light with him. I instead have this super blinding desk lamp that I put up there to create more light.
And that explains it all. That explains everything.
And I put it up here, and it did what it needed to do, and I was like, they can see me better. It's working fine. So that's where I left it. I didn't buy the light, Jeff.
Well, interesting.
So
we'll figure that one out. Fascinating.
And my camera is just a Logitech like 270 C270. It's like maybe the cheapest like webcam you could probably ever purchase. And At one point in time, I was supposed to like upgrade, and I didn't. So
Yeah. Dustin
so
is,
it's probably
for
something
some
to go
reason,
back.
like a troglodyte when it comes to upgrading his equipment. We are literally paying for it with TT2KB funds. He's like,
Yeah, I'll get to. Well, COVID happened, and it was like you couldn't even get into like a Best Buy for a while, and it was like
we're literally ordering it online and shipping it to your door, Dustin. There's no excuse here.
I had a $50 Best Buy card. I was going to fund half of it. Remember?
Whatever. Let's see. Air Laser's question. Let's see. Oh yeah. Well, Mouse. Yes. I'm sorry to give you shit about your mic, but I know what your mic sounded like 2 weeks ago before your move, and now But okay. Air Laser's question. If
This
you
is
go
the
back,
show
and
I
do it all again-
always wanted.
This is like like a drinking game, like have you never? And then the question is about whether Dustin has bought his damn webcam.
Kevin Dustin bitching at each other.
Fucking light kills me, dude. Like this whole time I've been fucking with your green screen, and there's like all that stupid pixelation going on, and your face going see-through in the middle of it, and fighting with this thing. And it turns out it's
he
because you
never
didn't buy your
once
damn
asked me
light.
if I had the light. He just assumed I had the light. I was like, oh,
All right. So Air Laser wants to know if we could go back and do it all again, what would you do differently and why with the wisdom check? Well, I would go back in time and tell Dustin to get the fucking light and upgrade your camera. That's what I would go back and change. I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to go back and say we should have done things differently, because I think at the time we were doing them, I think we were learning what we needed to learn at the time. And
yeah.
it's very difficult to skip steps, I think. I think there's a chance to, skip ahead and have an audience dumped on you and that kind of thing, but it isn't organic. And I think that maybe we should have gone back and been more interactive initially. I think maybe what I would have changed. A little bit more direct back and forth with you guys. But it's hard to say, because in those days, it was bigger risk to just be yourself and just goof around and be an idiot. Whereas now I feel like people have come to accept who we are and come here perhaps for those reasons. So it's a different time, I guess. It's hard to say. You got anything you can think of off the top of your head?
Man, if we could go back and change everything, I don't know if there's anything I could change. I think that maybe initially we should have realized it was never going to be every other week.
Yeah.
We should have just said weekly from the get-go, because we only ever skipped that 1 week. And then from episode 2 to 3 was the following week. We just did them every week after that. So I think the idea of it being every other week was maybe a little foolhardy. We should have realized it was going to be weekly content.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a good chance that maybe, well, I don't know. It's tough to say. I think maybe there's a good chance that maybe we should have just got shot for an hour. But some of the conversations would have needed more episodes. Maybe sometimes I feel like 2 hours is too long. But other times with certain guests, it's like we needed 2 hours. So sometimes I feel like it's too long. Sometimes I feel like it's not long enough, so maybe certain topics needed more time. But instead of maybe pigeonholing it to always 2 hours, we just should have always just started at 10 and let it just run its course till it was done, and then just called it, maybe. Instead of always trying to content fill to midnight, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. We went back and forth on a lot of things, and one of the things we've learned over time is that consistency is incredibly important to a successful stream. And
yeah.
So on one page, I'm with you. On one hand, I'm thinking, yes, there have been times where it felt like we did not need that much time, and other times I felt like we needed 2 or 3 more hours. And
well, sometimes when it's me and you, we went those extra 2 hours.
Yeah, we did.
We had a couple of those episodes that went 4 hours long.
I think that officially gets us to the 100th episode, by the way. Yeah, so I think that's one of the things that's potentially room to kind of discuss, but just blanked on what I was about to say. I was about to say something.
I'll address the next question while you're thinking. Wisdom check being at the time slot it is 110% my fault because of my work schedule. I work technically till 9:30 Central Time, And while I'm often able to duck out just a hair early to get here to give myself time to eat before I have to sit down here and get on the call at 9:30 to meet with Jeff, sometimes I'm literally sliding into the chair and throwing him the links and everything 10 minutes before the countdown starts. But because my work schedule is very hectic and chaotic and I don't always know how it's going to go on any given shift working in healthcare, we had to set the time to start at 10 purely. And that's the reason almost all of our programs start at 10 is because of my work schedule. And if I get the day shift sometime in the next month, you might see some changes on when certain programs begin around here solely because my work will not keep me there until 9 o'clock on a regular basis. So a little of that might have to do with some of the schedules from the other guys, but there's a good chance you could see things like Everstorm, Don't Sleep, iKindred, and that might actually start at say 9.
God, that would be
instead of 10. So you might see that small bump happen for those of you on the East Coast with content coming up in the new year. And that's 110% almost always solely based on me. So I appreciate the rest of the guys being so accommodating to my schedule, but that's what it is. So
yeah, I'll get back to the thing I was going to say in a second here, but relevant here is Animal G saying, do I think of things in CST instead of EST because of the channel? I grew up and have always been in CST. So this move to EST was a nightmare already. And then, yes, I do think of time based on our channel. And, man, it's so much later.
So this is what Jeff did. Jeff moved from Central, and he didn't move that far.
Nope.
But just far enough to cross a timeline into a different time zone. And then COVID struck where time has stood still.
Yeah.
Time almost does not exist for Jeff at all. So
everything
I don't know if
based
he
on our
even
shows.
thinks of time. I don't even know if he knows what day it is. I don't know how he even remembers what day it is.
I'm telling you, the only calendar I have is our schedule. And because of that, I know exactly what time it is and what day it is all the time. It's what shows today, that's the day. Today is Wisdom Check Day. That day is Don't Sleep Day. That's Zweihander Day. That's the day. They don't have normal names. They're not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday anymore. It's the show name. So the other thing I was going to say, the one thing I would have changed in retrospect, knowing that we were going to throw things on YouTube, is I would have had natural breaks. Just not necessarily a break in the actual show itself, but just and now we're winding down the first half, and now we're starting a new episode. It's like an outro, intro, kind of in the middle. Just so that
we tried that. Breaks. We tried that with the early episodes, and they were successful at that for a while. Mm-hmm. And then when we started having guests on, there was not so much a natural break.
It never was.
We kind of went away. We kind of went away from it. But we did start out that way because when we had our early guest on who didn't have products, when we had Matt Jowett on, when we had DM Chuck on the first time, Naravia, we had those guests on. We had them come with 2 topics, and we would do an hour on the first topic, cut it, do an hour on the second topic, and those were intentional for the cutting of making YouTube content. And again, gets me back to where I was saying, maybe in hindsight, the best idea would have been just say we're doing an hour.
I don't think an hour is enough, though, and a lot of times, because maybe I'm a different kind of person, but I feel like in most there have been some conversations where this isn't true, but most conversations for me, I feel like I get more into the conversation as it rolls on.
Right.
Unless I have to pee, and then that's the
yeah. But I'm just saying, I think that instead of trying to make an unnatural break at the hour mark, we would have been better off just doing hours, and then we would have had probably more ample opportunity to have, as different guests came on, we would have still been able to fill most of those topics in. We just wouldn't have had one guest doing 2 topics. We would have had one guest doing 1 topic, which is kind of what we already did anyway. Mm-hmm. And then maybe get a little more directly into it, when we're kind of starting, and then that would have probably been, I don't know. At the end of the day, I do like the long form discussion. Mm-hmm. I just it didn't work out like we thought it would with the 2 topics per.
Right. Well, we just ran out. It got hard to come up with topics.
Ran out of topics after a while, right?
I think some of it was just logistical. I think it would have been neat to have maybe an hour with a guest and then an hour without a guest, but then the logistics, that's a nightmare. To kind of piggyback on the earlier tech question and kind of go into the editing side of things, I use Camtasia 9 as my editing stuff. And the other thing, if you're streaming, we do our capture off of our Discord over on another screen. And with audio, what we deal with is voice meter banana. And if you want to exercise in frustration, get yourself some voice meter banana. And that will help you kind of separate all your audio out, but it will drive you insane until you set, and then you never change it. You do not change that, or you're just done. Let's see, what else we got here?
They're wanting to know how many episodes you had to pee in. I said all of them, 100% Jeff pee action. We need to get him a catheter.
Yeah. Well,
that's how it is.
Yeah, I take a medication. One of the side effects is I have to have frequent and sudden urges that are desperate to pee. And it always seems to hit me, no matter how many times I go to the bathroom before a show, except for when it's just Dustin and I here and there's no stakes. For some reason, an hour and 20 minutes, maybe an hour and 10 minutes in, I hit critical mass. This is not safe for staying on stream. Like, this could go at any second. And then I have to make it to the end of the show. And it's always those times that Dustin's like, oh, and we gotta keep talking about some plugs. I'm like, God, come on, Dustin. I'm like bouncing, chairs going back and
every
forth.
week is to make Jeff pee his pants.
It almost happens. It almost happens. It's very close. I've had some very desperate times. So yes, if that's your mini game, fuck you.
I can see the squirm happening in him here. You know, he's got. I can see it, so I can.
No, I'm good tonight though. For some reason, like
Because
sometimes
he literally went during the countdown.
Yeah.
So while you guys are watching the countdown, this is a little behind the scenes fun for you guys that are wanting a little behind the scenes action. Jeff starts the countdown and then goes to pee. And then by the time the interview is over, like around this time, we're at midnight. Like this is about the time where Jeff goes to go pee again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's literally.
We go off air. I'm like, and
Yeah,
I go
so
sprinting out the other room, and then the guest's like, "Whoa, really?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what just happened."
Yeah, so it's always my job to be the guy who has to work like the green room of the show. So I got to be there at the beginning and hang out and talk to him a bit while Jeff's getting tech set up, and then like I have to hang out at the end in the green room with him while Jeff runs to pee again. So
yeah, I guess that was another thing that always surprised me. Like, we have a guest come on about 30 to 20 minutes early to do like tech stuff and then pre-chat and just kind of get warmed up. And then we do the whole show. And then a lot of our guests will stick around for like an hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours after the show, just talking. And I'm like,
and when do you think they'd be done?
yeah,
They're not.
it's amazing. And it's always the people who are like, man, 2 hours is a long show. I don't know if I can, I don't know if I can keep enough content out there for you guys. And you get on and they're like, full 2 hour goes, whoa, it's already over? Like, yeah, it's over. Oh, okay. And then they hang out with you until it's like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. You're like, wow, I can't believe we're up still. It's really good conversations, though. I've really enjoyed those. Let's see. Air Laser, do you have any regrets with Wisdom Check? Hers is not appearing on the show. Well, we did offer, and you turned it down, and you put DM Furious over there, which was a good time.
I have one regret.
Yeah?
I never bought the shirt. I meant to.
You done
on more than one occasion. I kept meaning to buy the shirt. I bought the TT2KB one, and I never got the shirt. Like I should have. I should have by now. It's 100 episodes. How have I not gotten the shirt of my own show?
Let's flip that bad boy around. Let's see.
Right, look at that. He did
a little transform. Look down at this flip horizontal transition. Boom! Look at that.
Boom! Got it. Now you're seeing Jeff in all this.
Woo! Yeah.
You were always looking at mirror Jeff for all these years. You didn't know what Jeff really looked like. Now you're seeing real Jeff.
You know what else I've got somewhere that I'll have to go grab? It's the limited edition mug that nobody else got except for, I think, just me.
Experiments in merchandising.
Hold on, I'm going to go grab that because it is the best mug ever.
So, just as, because we're talking about the channel as a whole, a year in review, there are things that went down this year that are definitely some of my highlights for the channel. And one is that Levi did original art for all of our characters. And then on top of it, Cameron went and made music for all of our characters. So I got original art by an artist. I got original music for a character of mine by a guy who makes musics, who's also my friend. And And to top it off, the art by Levi was then taken and turned into a sculpture done by Jeff's dad. And that just is crazy. That just, like, those are the things that, you know, and like, there's been so many little cool things that have happened as part of the show. Like, I got a handmade necklace from Bulbasaur.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
That we raffled off. Like, we got a package of gamer coffee that we gave away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had a text message conversation with Bulbasaur. That's crazy.
That's so random.
Like, things that, like, I you know, but I never thought these kinds of things would happen. I got us all sets of dice from Die Hard Dice. Like,
yeah, that was
you
cool.
know,
Mm-hmm.
this year there's been so many crazy things this year that's happened, you know, and we had like I said, I got to run a game at Gen Con. I was a Gen Con GM this year. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I never would imagine I'd run anything at Gen Con. I did this year. Like, it's virtual, but, you know, all the same, I still got those things back there. And if we ever shut down the doors completely on T2KB, I'll always have those things that'll, you know, be part of what we've done here. So it's been super cool, like, to get to do those things. So
Absolutely.
things I'd have never imagined that I'd be doing at the beginning of this year. Like, I know at the beginning of this year, we knew we were doing C2E2, and that already was going to blow my mind. Like I said, and we talked about earlier, but like, I imagined it would be us talking to dead air.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be true. But just everything else on top of this year that's also happened, like I said, is just, it's been amazing, and at least in those regards.
Yeah, and I think of some of the other guests we talked to. Like, we've talked to so many amazing guests that somehow guests just slipped my mind. And like, I remember I used to watch a bunch of videos on YouTube for Dungeons and Dragons related stuff by Nerdarchy, and we ended up talking to the guy from Nerdarchy, who may be the first Dungeons and Dragons YouTuber.
Right, like one of the original, like, OG, like, YouTubers for D&D.
Like, it's freaking awesome. That guy was cool as hell.
Yeah,
Dave was a good guy. Good guy.
Yeah, and we've had so many really cool episodes and people on here, and we've covered all the really cool topics. We've had artists, we've had, you know, writers.
Jr.,
yeah, we've had so many different kinds of people from the industry in here. Like I said, Hope Lavelle came and played in my Zweihander game. Like, what the heck? She's on the official D&D channel playing, and she does motion caption for movies.
Yeah, so
and
cool.
She came and played in my Zweihander game. Me, like, it's crazy. She like, I don't even know if she knows what the average viewership on D&D Beyond is, but her show has an average over 1,000 viewers a week. Like, she came and played on Sundays on my channel. Like, it's just nuts.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. Like, it's like every time I think about this show or our channel, I have to stop and be like, seriously, how? But it's just doing, I guess. I don't know. It's been cool. It's been really, really fucking cool.
They've all just been so, like, almost all of them have just been, like, down to earth, cool people. Like, and you hear that, like, when people who do interviews or talk to them, like, meet these people, they're always like, oh, they're so down to earth. They're so, you know, so, like, just normal, regular guys. Like, and I mean, we feel that way when they meet us. Like, if we get together at Gen Con this year, let's say these vaccines that they roll out. I got mine today, by the way, first vaccine today.
Good stuff.
I got to get another one in a month. But let's say these are all working fine, and by Gen Con, you know, we can have Gen Con, like, and we do a get together like we talked about maybe doing last year. Like, maybe that's how people feel when they finally meet us too, that we're just normal, down to earth, regular guys, you know. So it's probably true. Like, that's just with people at the end of the day, and I'm sure they're no different, but it's just weird. I did joke today, Malice, that if I grow a third arm, it'll only make me more efficient in the lab. So I was willing to get it.
Animal G, thank you. He's saying it's because you guys are great. Well, I mean, that has been one thing we've been able to definitively say is if we were terrible to talk to, people would not talk to us and have requested other people come on for a show. So somehow we have not been so fucking obnoxious in our interviews as to turn everyone away. People actually watch our episodes and then say, "Can I be on your show?" That shocks the hell out of me.
Yeah. And what's crazy is, like, there's been more than one occasion where we've had people come to us who we didn't know and be like, "Can I come on your show?" Wait, what? You want to come on our show? Like, yeah, we got something going on. We would like to come on your show. Okay. Have you watched an episode? like it's usually my first question. Like, have you watched the show? Do you know what you're getting into? Okay. So I mean, there's been a few of those. Like the guy from Unmade Gaming. When Rob came, he came to me on Twitter. He's like, "Hey, I want to be on the Wisdom Check." Okay, fantastic. We'll book you. Come on, we'll talk about what you got going on. It'll be a good time. Like, we've had a few of those where we've had people show up and asked to be back on. Travis Lake came back. I was like, "Hey, I want to come back on the show and talk about Dead Man's Rust." And we're like, "Absolutely, come back on the show." Like,
even ran a game for us.
Ran a game for us too. Scott Schletz, one of the writers for Shadowrun, came on and ran a game of Shadowrun for us. Like, and that's the kind of stuff I really would like to get more of. Like doing looking for group on Thursdays with video games and all aboard on Mondays are fantastic. I also really, really, really want to get more spotlights. If there's something we started this year that I want to get more of, if you asked me what my biggest regret for this year is that we didn't book more spotlights. Yeah, that's something I would really push to make more happen if we can find a way.
It's a lot of scheduling, I think, is the big one.
It is. It's work, and I'm not suggesting they happen every month. Like originally, I thought maybe we do one a month. They're not going to happen every month. There's no way.
No chance.
But you know, when the people who are writers and everything else that like, we got 3 of them this year, I think. And I think we can push to maybe get 4 of them in 2021. Be my goal.
That'd be reasonable. And I think that'd be a good time. Well, man, we are over our time that we normally run. Anyone else have any more questions for us?
This is it. Last call.
It is last call.
Down. It's midnight somewhere here, as a matter of fact.
By the way, I think we need to get these mugs again. I need more than one of these. This thing is amazing.
Well, we run our own merch shop, Jeff. If we can't get them, we can literally make them happen in a moment's notice.
So the question that just came in from Air Laser is, how many push-ups can you do? What's the motivation? Like, I at one point was fairly good at push-ups. I have no idea now, but in the CrossFit days, I could do quite a few push-ups.
Well, I didn't do CrossFit, and Malice is here, so he'll appreciate this story. We, in our guild, used to have a player who went by the name Schmave, and he was fairly ripped, and we used to joke he had such good RNG when he was regrading in ArcAge and he told us that the secret was that he would do 10 push-ups before he'd hit the regrade button. So for a while, we were all doing push-ups trying to capture some of the magic. It turns out he was just doing a lot more of it than the rest of us. He wasn't having better luck. He was just cramming crap tons of money into the game till it worked. But for a while, we were all doing some serious push-ups. And the answer is 10 at a time, because that's all it took to try to regrade at ArcAge. I've never pushed further than that, so I don't know the answer. But he told us 10 is all it took. So we were doing 10 at a time. I could do 10. I didn't try to go further because that's all it was required for good ArcAge RNG.
I'll tell you what. One day, I'll get a camera set up, and we'll just do a stream where it's just the chat versus me push-up edition. It'll be first 10 push-ups are 10 cents each. The next 10 will be 20 cents each. The next 10 will be 30 cents. And we'll go until I fail. And if I do fail, I'll maybe give something away. I don't know.
You need to appear on Barbell Knowledge.
Yeah.
And you can't do a push-off-a-thon.
We'll just die. Like, we'll just cry. And then whoever gets us to break. Yeah.
You ain't going to keep Cam. Cam will just gas you out on him, and then you'll just kill them dead.
You know what Cam will kill you on with workouts is pull-ups.
Oh, yeah?
I do not understand how. That dude is a machine at pull-ups. Specifically pull-ups.
I come in at approximately 1/2 a pull-up.
Yeah, I hate pull-ups.
Well, 1/2 is about where all I get to. And you're talking to a guy. Now, I mean, if you go back to the early wisdom checks, you can pretty visually tell. But I'm down almost 60 pounds. Still only half a pull-up. Don't pretend that has changed any. So that's about where I rate.
Yeah. Well, do any fan interaction moments stand out to you?
It's a little hard for me to top the 60-some gift subs from Fruitzilla when he dropped them in that
Good
one
call.
stream.
Dude, that was ridiculous.
Probably, yeah, I hate to think that you can just buy your way into my memories, but it's a little hard to ignore 60-some gift subs in a single night. that's the kind of thing you'll never see again. Like, you know, I was pretty phenomenal, and that was a Daniel D. Fox episode too. Like, it just happened to be. But,
you realize that was that one?
Yeah. So that was, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone will ever dethrone Fruitzilla.
Yeah, I mean, we got some people catching up. I mean, Frendon's making a push.
Real close, yeah.
And he's willing to throw down. He doesn't throw down 60 at a time, but he'll throw down 10 on a regular basis. And he is in my Vigilante game coming up. So, I mean, he'll be hanging around a bit. So he can make a push for it before he's done. He won't get there anytime soon, but I do suspect he will take a solid second place over our long-lost Poison Ivy Pika there. And then who's that in the number 2 spot?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
In memoriam, I suppose. We don't have to
change your name online. Yeah.
So
I don't know. I can't. You're right. It is incredibly hard to not say Fruitzilla. I'm trying to think if there's no one really jumps out at me. No. I think there's just been a lot of jokes and stuff that have come up during some gameplay that just sticks out. Like I think all the quotes, that we've had people rolling on and people like getting at have been good. I don't know.
I'm a big. I'll be honest. Like we had a lot of really good fans like early on for Everstorm, and a lot of them we don't see so much anymore. People like Stonefly High, some of them that used to be around a lot, and we don't really see them so much anymore. They kind of fallen off the face of the earth. But I'm super excited about some of our newer viewers that are more regular that come by.
Amen.
People like Substances Used, Six Psycho, who shows up for Don't Sleep. Like those are people that are super involved and engaged in like what we're doing. It's always good to see Death Angel Shadows here who got to win one of our if I remember right, Death Angel Shadows was the winner of one of our drawings. We've had Animal G and Air Laser have been mods for us for a long time now, and they always show up and have done a fantastic job helping get rid of all those bots.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Quell Deity coming by regular, Chris Derps coming by regularly. We're starting to see people that are a little more actively involved, not just here as viewers and maybe even lurking from time to time, but like actively involved in the stuff. Whereas some of our older viewers that used to be more involved, like Bislab, and some of them have gone on to do more streaming themselves, and we don't see them here necessarily as regularly. They're still fans, like we're still friends and fans. They're not the people who make up the regular chatters anymore. So like it's weird to see that kind of turnover happen. Like the viewership numbers stay roughly the same and the amount of chat stays roughly the same, but like the names have changed.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting kind of dynamic. Yeah, we just buy our fans like Death Angel Shadow. Just he shows up, we give him something, and then they're loyal to us. Let's see. Air Laser.
I don't want to diminish his reward, but by default, he's the only other mod. So, I mean, are you just giving it to him, Air Laser, because he's the other mod? Do we need a third mod so he can beat someone? Like, Animal G's done a fantastic job. I'm not taking anything away from him, but it is funny. Like, we'll just be like, Animal G, you're mod of the year, and he's like, well, I'm the only other mod. Like, yeah, all right.
It's been pretty rocking though.
And then
yeah, that's right. She was the Century, so Animal G is.
You're the one mod of the modern era. Cam upgraded to modern era.
That's right. Malice, you said you're surprised we have as many fans, shared fans with Maddie. Maddie Morris is a great one. I really enjoyed talking to him.
He was another really, really excellent guest the time he was on. Yeah.
Really good stream too. Like if you haven't been over there, go check it out. Just a lot of good advice on there about stuff. I've seen him bring in new players and teach them things. There's a lot of like not really giveaways so much as like points of access.
He does giveaways.
Yeah,
but again, his is out of the spirit of he runs a game shop. So it's just as much product promotion and getting people involved because then they get stuff. It's part of his business model.
Right.
He is a good guy. Not taking anything away from Manny, but it is part of his business model to then also be doing that. You know, the streaming and stuff he does is a side thing versus the running of a game shop. So
I forgot he was taking a break till the end of the year. Yeah, I can sense that. You do streaming long enough, you'll get that feeling. Like you need a little recharge here and there. But yeah, it's one man shows has got to be brutal. So glad he's doing well. Take a little time for himself. Well, can give you a few more moments to come up with any more questions, but I think we're in a good spot here. Unless you're feeling like we're missing something, Dustin.
No, I don't think so. I think I was trying to think if there's anything else. We already kind of covered like our highs and lows. I guess the last thing we can cover real quick is what are you looking forward to most on the channel, you think, for 2021? We've got a new slate of programs coming up. Everstorm's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. Odds are by the end of 2021, we won't even be at the end of Everstorm yet. We'll still have like another year of Everstorm after that based on Levi's projections. We're still going to have Bardic Knowledge and DM to Art taking place on Tuesdays at this point. Mm-hmm. We got Don't Sleep, and then coming soon will be iKindred. And I've still got at least one more good Zweihander run in me with Vigilantes before we're done. And then video game night on Thursdays, the all aboard tabletop board games here. Yeah. What do you feel like you're looking forward to the most into the new year, Jeff? There's a lot of content.
There is a lot of content. I think because the immediacy and the desire to play Vampire so badly, I am really looking forward to that. So that's going to be right there in the front. But I am super jonesing for board games. Video games, I am always down for, but board games, I haven't been able to play board games until like this recent week or so. And it's been multiple years of not playing board games, even though there's an entire shelf over there of board games. So I am super pumped for board games. And I am really excited to be able to play with people in our community. And hopefully we can find some new games that I've never played before that the chat will kind of suggest and we'll kind of get into. And I don't know, I think just getting to know people is going to be just a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a good experience. What about you?
Oh, man. I think for me, because I'm further along with it and where I'm at, I am pretty stoked for my Vigilantes game. Mm-hmm. I got some really cool ideas for iKindred, and I'm having a lot of fun kind of building this setting that you guys are going to be in there. I'll get more excited once I have all the character concepts ready, and I can really start digging into kind of how I want them to play inside of this world I'm building. But this is my Return of the Jedi for my Zweihander trilogy. This is the one I have to stick the landing on, like even more so. Like I challenged myself to do Terra and Treefell. I pushed myself to try to top that with Horn Huttenberg, and so now I'm pushing myself even harder to try to bring this thing to an end. I've got a fantastic moral dilemma set up for them. I've got some fantastic players. It's going to be at the highest level of play for Zweihander. It's advanced tier, 3 professions for each character. Mm-hmm. So you're going to really see how Para works, maybe for the first time ever. And I'm excited for what this game can be. And if I can make this thing work and I can stick this landing on this one, like it might be the best work I probably have done as a GM just throughout the trilogy. Like the whole thing, when it's all said and done, is probably one of the better jobs of running a campaign.
Very cool, man.
World. Like probably ranking up there with my 7 run I did at Requiem Larp. Like that probably, and the Spider God was probably the height of my GMing up until Treefell and Horn Huttenberg. I feel like I probably have done a better job there than I did with 7. 7 at Larp was pretty fantastic, and the Spider God is maybe the single most incredible encounter I put together at Larp.
And that whole night on both sides of that LARP were right, both of our best nights of LARP. Yeah,
it was crazy. Yeah,
that was really good. Yeah, that's cool. I am looking forward to see what you do with it because if you do manage to hammer it all out, and obviously you have a great experience with just the game that you're running here, but hammer it out and put it into module form for other people to enjoy as well. I think that's going to be really exciting to see that process through, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of success with it.
Yeah, I don't know how long iKidder is going to go. I've got some cool ideas for it, but I think once Vigilantes of Valandria ends, I'm going to take my Sundays and I'm going to dedicate it to really writing on the modules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be
so
cool.
I think that's what you'll probably see coming up then.
Debbie Snacks wants to know when the Vigilantes is supposed to start.
January 23rd is character creation. That's not changing as far as I know. Things are supposed to be normal for me by then.
It's supposed to be. We'll see. Discord link is there. Go check that out. That's where you're going to see a lot of the information. In the future, we're going to talk amongst ourselves and kind of hammer out the details exactly, but I think we'll probably utilize part of Discord to figure out who's coming on our various shows with us.
I think we have to.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, and this is just my thoughts, spitballing here on there. It's not saying this is what we're doing, but I think maybe we do you guys sign up, and then we have a sheet of first in, first out, and then if you're there that particular day, the priority is the person at the top of the list, and then the next person, and we just rotate through. So we'll kind of go with that, and we'll see what happens. I don't know. And if you guys have suggestions for games that we may play, like board games or video games that you want to get into, not saying we'll definitely do them, but I'd be up for at least taking a look. Hopefully we can get into some access to some things, and it'll be exciting. Yeah. I am super excited for that. So thank you all. I can't say that enough, honestly. This whole run has been fantastic, and it's been fantastic because we've had a great audience, great support from the community, great guests, and it's meant a lot. It's been a really good time. So thank you, Dustin, for being a fantastic co-host on this stuff. There's no way I could have run the show by myself.
Yeah, sure, definitely. It's been fun. We had this crazy idea to do this thing, and we weren't sure how it would go. We tiptoed into it kind of hesitantly with some tech issues and everything else, and then after a few weeks, we hammered it out. We brought on, and I guess really I should say this, just a little special thanks to Matt Jowett.
Yeah, for being
he was our first guest. He was our first guest, and
thank you, Animal G. Thank you very much.
He was our first guest, and we were really unsure how it was going to go with a guest. And so he came on. He was fantastic, and I think he gave us the confidence that we could keep bringing on more guests and that this format would work. And so, I think there's a special thanks we probably owe to him just for being that first guest to come on. And he was so easy to talk to, and he did such a great job. And we realized this is what the show can be. And I think that from that point on, it took off every week from that point on. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And thank you, Animal G. I don't know if Dustin saw that, but 1,000 bits came down the pipe. So 10 bits for every episode, he says.
Man, that's a lot of zombies you could have thrown down in 2 days.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. So I guess it feels weird to wrap this up, but that's going to be us for the wisdom check. So I
got a raid target.
Got a raid target. Who's the beneficiary?
Our friends. Okay, so I went and checked. I think it's the same group. I checked them out the other day. Oh, no, it was a different group, but they're doing basically the same thing. And I talked a lot with it was Dinner the Game was doing an episode with Knowles.
Okay.
And I joked about the Knoll Hole. The infamous Knoll Hole D&D game I ran where you guys were stuck in the Knoll Hole for 5 levels.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, today, our friends over at Behold Roleplay are in a game it looks like called No Way Out. It's Knoll. So for my last raid target, we're gonna go back to the Knoll Hole one more time, Jeff. So
brutal.
Enjoy. Peace.
Thanks, everyone.